7 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sandy, if you could please read our mission and vision statement and take roll.
Our mission statement is at Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in a global community. And our vision statement is, to foster a culture of academic excellence, creativity, character, ensuring that all students are prepared for success in an ever-changing world. And I will do roll. Board Member Cunningham? Here. Board Member Gillis? Here. Board Member Michon?
Here.
Board Member Steyer?
Here.
Board Member Sutton?
Here.
Board Member Telto? Here. I am Board Member Fortuna. I am here and we have a quorum. And we also have our student representative here with us, Kelsey McNamara and Elizabeth Schaefer, but it'll be a little bit late tonight.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Support.
I'll give it to Candace. Any discussion?
Just for the board, you should have received in front of you, Ray, I uploaded it to the packet, a revised action sheet for letter, I think it's 8, the last one. I forgot to change the title on that. There's no content changed in it. And then in front of you have the budget amendment, the actual AS400 printout, and the summary that Tammy will be presenting tonight. There's no action on that tonight, just as a hard copy so you can look at it. That's it.
Any discussion? This will be a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Raymond?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Mr. Wamsley?
In your board packet, you have the personnel report. Nadia Brown, AM and PM Child Care is for a new hire. And then there's an appointment of Mrs. Hayes for the Lego Assisted Club at the elementary school. There were no questions regarding the 11/24 board meeting minutes. And you also have the district head count and the November claims and accounts. Again, no questions from you.
Any questions? This will be a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
Raymond?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is our student recognition for their holiday cards.
Okay, so Mrs. Suspaniak's going to join me tonight, but tonight we celebrate the creativity of our Richmond students. This is probably our 4th year doing it. Every year it's kind of evolved and there's been more and more applications. But we work with our art teachers and ask them to work with students who are interested in submitting art designs. Members of the central office and other members of the organization who don't always directly work with kids do the voting on it. I believe we had 3 ties this year, Cindy, am I correct on that?
That's
so
correct.
There was a lot of going back and forth trying to find one winner for every grade level. These cards, along with my holiday message, will get mailed out to all the families in the household or in the district. So it's a random card that you may get. So you may get your own, you may get a different one if you're one of the recipients here tonight. So with that, I'm going to ask Mrs. Suspaniak to help me. We're going to call the students up. When your name is called, if you come up and get a certificate, in the envelope that they have is extra cards of yours that are being mailed out, so you give them to family and friends. And then if you come have a seat over there, Ms. Mitchell-Ogden will kind of get us in a group to take a picture. And then students, you're welcome to take your artwork that's on display home with you after the presentation. So with that, we'll start with Mrs. Suspaniak.
All right. So we have first up Cameron Schwartz. For first grade, Isabel McDermott. Second grade, Merrick Turnus. Audrey Wolchek. Fourth grade, Macy McDonald. And fifth grade, Charlotte Paul. Sixth grade, Poppy Konwinski. Seventh grade, Kenzie Wickstand. Eighth grade, we have Brianna Hoover. Ninth grade, Erilyn Primo. Tenth grade, Kelsey McNamara. 11th grade, Isabella Campbell. And 12th grade, Frankie Collins.
So if the board would like to join us for the photo over there, and if there's any principals who would like to join, you're welcome to also.
I'd love to join you, but I think I'll sit this one out.
It'd be a little hard.
I didn't do it. I'm just first. I haven't done this
Okay, next item on our agenda is our proposed overnight extended trip request to Michigan with Mrs. Scheck.
Mrs. Scheck, this is the Grand Rapids one? Yep, perfect.
Right, so I came to you about, 2 years ago now, saying that a really special musician here at Richmond, and she made it to the All-State Band as an 8th grader. This will be like a once-in-a-lifetime event. But here we are, year 3. Claire Reichert, she auditioned in October, and she earned her spot into the 2026 All-State Band for the 3rd year in a row. Just once again, a huge honor. It's it's really exciting for me as a director and just to see her grow as a musician. And she, you know, you add up all the people who auditioned on clarinet, and I think I said this last time too, is, you know, between 150 and 200 people auditioned for 24 spots, and she's number 9. So again, it's just an awesome accomplishment. So we're looking to go to Grand Rapids again to the Michigan Music Conference. It's a 3-day event in January. I think you guys have all the information, I believe, in front of you.
We do.
Okay, she'll have 2 days of rehearsal and give the performance on Saturday, the 24th, in the Voss Hall this coming year. Is there anything else or questions?
Any questions for the board?
No, just a congratulations, what a great opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just so the board knows, there's 3 presentations and the 3 action items tonight. Because of the holiday, we want to get them their notice back so they could begin the planning.
Okay, next item on our agenda is another proposed overnight extended trip. Ms. Shack's back up.
I'm going to have Mr. Leverton join me on this one because we're going to be teaming this event. So we're looking next fall to take our band and choir on an extended trip, this time to New York City. A couple years ago, we went to Chicago, and ready to try something a little bit bigger as we travel with our students. So we're looking at the dates there, November 18th to the 22nd. We'll be leaving Wednesday night, traveling overnight via school bus, or not school bus, the charter bus, through the night to New York. There is quite a bit on the agenda. It's just jam-packed. Some of the curricular events would be going to 2 Broadway productions. Also doing a clinic with some, Broadway musicians where we would play, sing as part of that. That's a really neat experience. Sometimes you even get to, depending on what clinic they slot you in, you actually like meet some of these musicians and singers. We met those guys from The Lion King. Scars people. Anyway, so like we met some guy, and the students got to ask questions. We met the Phantom one time when we traveled. So like you just don't know who you're going to get when you go to the clinics and things like that. We'll also take the students to see some of the museums, Natural City Museum, 9/11 Museum, and that sort as well.
It's a fantastic experience for all the students to be able to go and experience something that's outside of rural Michigan. As much as we love it here, it's awesome for these students to be able to experience something that's a little grand and be able to see these awesome shows and be able to experience stuff like the 9/11 museums in there. That's one of a huge thing for a lot of these kids to be able to see something that looks cool for these people. And along with all the other things, be able to go and see stuff like that. So I think that's the biggest takeaway is not only that educational pull, but also being able to see all these wonderful things that are awesome.
Do you guys happen to know what Broadway?
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone have any questions for them?
How many kids are you going to take, do you think?
For the price that's listed, a minimum of 40, and then a bus holds 55. And that would include adults.
That's for all the choir, high school choir?
I would go with you. I've done it once before.
I gotta say, like, seeing like the cities on a bus is the way to go. On a tour bus, and they'll take you around and battle traffic for you. So it is the way to go.
And you'll be doing some fundraising?
Oh, yeah, yep. So our boosters are currently in the works to fundraise. We've already been fundraising since we went to Chicago. We've been, thinking about what the next step is going to be and doing some fundraisers to put towards this trip and then continuing for the next year.
Okay. Any questions? Any other questions? Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is our proposed overnight extended trip request. Mr. Stewart.
I come to you for the 44th time seeking permission to go overnight trip to West Holiday. We're leaving on Friday morning, May 8th, and coming back on Sunday, May 10th. We'll be staying at the Foster Academy, Gaylord, and we're playing Paris West. No, Paris City, sorry. Paris West on Friday night, and Paris Central on Saturday. And then we do team volleyball Saturday afternoon. It's a fantastic time. The school just love it. We get along, the team is moved all together, just the team, no parents, not parents bad, no parents, no other kid distracting. We just do team things. Any questions?
It's really your 44th time?
Yes, ma'am. Not 44 times, it's also 44 times. Yes, I've been doing this, this is my 48th year of coaching.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next item on our agenda is our MHSCA Coach of the Year. Mr. Trent.
Yeah, so Coach didn't know that I was doing this, and I don't know if he picked it up reading the,
Yes, Mr. Ron told me.
oh, okay,
Sorry,
well,
I bursted the bubble.
oh, it's okay. So I'm gonna invite Coach Stewart back up, because this fall, Coach Stewart was inducted into the, and I know everybody in education loves acronyms, so MHSCA, which is the Michigan High School Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Here in 2025, he is a member of a 14-coach class, and we are very, very proud of what he's done, like he just said, with the 48 years with softball. Obviously, the awesome run we had this year, and the more I'm around Coach Stewart and I talk to him and pick his brain on stuff, the more I come away with a bunch of great things I want to implement everywhere. So just a little bit about the MHSCA. It kind of oversees all of the other sports-specific coaches associations. So I know he's won the Coach of the Year award a couple times in softball. This kind of oversees all of those sports. And just another inductee this year was Jim Fish, who's the superintendent and the volleyball coach up in North Branch. So again, it really speaks to the caliber of coaches that are receiving these honors. So I'm very proud to present this to Coach tonight. Comes with goodness. I didn't see any money in the bag. We can talk about that later.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Coach. Okay, next item on our agenda is our BWAC Sportsmanship Summit. Mr. Trent.
Yep, and tonight I'm joined by Jake Hill. Jake attended the Sportsmanship Summit, and Jake also serves as the president of our Student Athlete Advisory Council. So a little bit about what we did. This is the second year really bringing this back for the league. There was a couple of years we didn't do it. Last year we took a group up to Elmont. This year we had the opportunity to host, and I was really happy with how everything went. As you can see, each school brought 8 students, 4 females and 4 males. We had the opportunity to have breakfast. They were able to mingle a little bit. We brought them in. We had a quick welcome address. And then our keynote speaker, last year, Elmont brought in Brad Bush, who's an executive director at the MHSAA, talked a lot about officiating, why some of the official shortages, some of the ways that kids can get involved with that. This year we took a little bit different approach. One of the things we've talked about at the state level and among athletic directors, and it's something that kind of gets overlooked, is life after athletics. So how you transition from being a high school or a college athlete into working a 9-to-5, usually, or what's it, 7:30? No, but how do you take all these skills that you spent so many years building and honing in these relationships, and how do you transition that into a career? So we were able to have, his name's Darren, he's actually my cousin, but Darren Hunsucker's the executive director for programming for Mayhem Athlete, which provides CrossFit training programming for hundreds of gyms across the world. He's traveled all over the world. He's done, he's spoken at different conventions. He's competed as an athlete. But rewinding all of that, he was a two-sport athlete at K-Pac High School, so just down the road. And again, one of those guys that after high school, how do I find something to use all of these skills that I've built? So he really talked to the kids about how to maximize their time in high school and then look for those different opportunities to use those skills in sports. And I feel like that went really well. The next one, and I'm super proud of Jake. I asked him if he wanted to do it, and he didn't have a ton of reservations that he showed me, but Jake got up and he spoke to the entire group about what our Student Athlete Advisory Council does, the benefits we've seen of it here in the high school, and what we could see the benefits of doing this league-wide. So I was super proud of him for that. And I'll let him talk a little bit more about his experience after we kind of go through the rest of the agenda. So after Jake spoke, then we broke the kids out into groups. We had 8 different groups, so 2 kids from each school, so we were able to mix them up with a different athletic director. And we started, gave the kids some prompts to share what their school does that they think is special. So we talked, different rivalries, different ways they do pep assemblies, different spirit days, different themes in student sections, just different things they do to get the kids thinking, what else can we do to add to that game day experience? Then the next step in those scenarios, we called them sportsmanship scenarios. So kind of, hey, this is going on, and we talked about where's the line. So are we crossing the line here? Are we getting close to the line? And it really got to some good discussions. Some things that I thought of it as an athletic director, like, oh yeah, that'd be no big deal. And they're like, yeah, that's kind of a big deal for us. So getting everybody to kind of think in that role, or get them thinking just outside of the student section, or them on the court at games. What are your actions conveying to those people sitting next to you? You and your friends are all in the student section, but across the aisle's a mom and some elementary-aged kids. So getting them to think about that. And then what we also did is through that, us athletic directors talked, and we kind of like doing that kind of an activity. So I created a Google Doc that as different scenarios pop up throughout the year for each of us athletic directors, we can throw that in and make that a topic for the next year's conversation. And then the last one we were going to do a Hey Fans sportsmanship video, and then talking to some of the guys in the group, we thought it would be better to take that format, and with the changes coming in the league for next year, take that, and instead of doing one this year, do it as like a new day in the BWAC as the league changes a little bit. So, and yeah, I mean, I'll just a couple thank yous before I let Jake talk from the student side of it. But huge thank you to Cynthia, who did a ton of coordinating for it, making sure breakfast and lunch and all of that was there, and having to deal with me super stressed out that week because it was also homecoming week. And Brian as well, helping coordinate and plan a lot of that. Eric and Ian ran the tech. And Jacob was kind of another, hey, I need that, please run down and get that or that. So a huge thank you to you guys for that as well. But I brought Jake to speak kind of on the student side and what they've seen coming out of that.
Okay, so to piggyback off of that sportsmanship summit, I guess the way that we see it as a way to connect with students from a different school, because obviously we're playing like Armada down the road. You want to beat them really bad, but you got to be careful what you're saying. So it's nice to see kind of like what they consider offensive. Like I think what was one of them? Farmada? I don't even know that was offensive, but they all thought it was. But, so it's just a way to interact with different schools, and we see it, we think that every other BWAC school could use a SAC because they all need some students to represent the student body, and then it's a very important way to get more student involvement in our sports, because since COVID, the numbers and participation are dropping, and with a SAC, you can discuss ways to build those numbers back up and hopefully boost the programs.
So, Jake, do not all the schools have one in the BWAC?
So no.
No.
Oh.
And we talked about it, I think a couple meetings ago, but the Athlete Advisory Council was something I brought in.
Right,
I was
know
on it
that,
in college.
right. I didn't
Yeah.
realize they didn't, not everyone.
Yeah, and I've talked to different ADs about getting things started, and kind of getting Jake up there and putting a student face to it is hopefully getting some of those conversations going in those other schools. And then, if we get more people doing it, it helps to make it a little bit better, because then we can bounce ideas off of it instead of us coming up with everything on our own sometimes.
So Preston referenced some changes in the league. You haven't heard, Algonac is moving to the MAC next school year.
Next
So right
year, yeah.
now in the BWAC, we have applications open for people to submit and be considered to join the BWAC. So that will be coming down the pipe in terms of that aspect. But I think one of the things that I really love about the BWAC conference compared to what I've experienced in others is this is really beyond just athletics. It's about teaching students sportsmanship and what to do, as Preston said, beyond high school. We as a BWAC have done the art exhibit. We try to coordinate. I know Molly's been having conversations with the band directors about trying to do some type of honors BWAC band and get that going, competition. So it's really about bringing the league together and showcasing all of our student talent. So it's really a great league to be a part of. So I thank Preston and all the students. It was a great day.
How many kids are in our council?
I'd say about 20. And the tough part is, I'd say about 20 because, membership at each meeting is a little bit different because it's after school, so we're trying to balance it with away events and practices and whatnot. So we try to represent, when we sat down last year and looked at, okay, who do we want to invite? We looked at, what kids in each group are kind of leaders in their groups, but also some of them cover, like Jake covers 3 different sports. So he can speak for soccer, he can speak for basketball, he can speak for golf, so things like that.
And how do we get kids?
A lot of it's conversations I have with the students about, as one group goes out, who might be kids we want to look at. I give them a lot of input, and then I reach out to our coaches too and say, hey, who are some of the leaders on your teams? They don't always, a lot of times I try not to get all seniors in it because I'm only going to have them for a year. So there are a lot of freshmen that we bring in, or sophomores we bring in.
Anyone have any other questions? Thank you both very much for speaking tonight. Okay, next item on our agenda is our 26-27 middle school, high school course catalog.
So in your backup, you should have the full document, but also in the cover sheet, we have a bulleted list of the changes that were made kind of page by page, item by item there. So that's probably the easiest thing to reference for the most part. So with the guide, if we go through, I would say kind of the overall gist is, for the most part, a lot of cleanup, just, we kind of crossing our T's, dotting our I's, making sure everything was just kind of consistent throughout, places where language had changed maybe over the course of years and it didn't get updated, all the different sections of the course guide. So I would say that's the most of it, is just very simple kind of cleanup changes. Of course, you also had approved several new courses for the middle school at our last meeting, so those have been added, and anywhere that an update was needed, to list that or what else it might be part of. So all of those changes are made. And we did include, so you know that there's an opportunity for classes to pilot before they're up for full approval. Last year, we did not put them in the course guide, but there were some kind of miscommunications for students not understanding that those were an opportunity of a class they could take that year. So those are noted in the guide, but they're very clearly indicated as a pilot class and, up for approval next school year. But we just wanted to do that to make sure they had a fair chance for students to understand those are classes they can actually take next school year. So I'd say that's kind of the overview of the biggest changes, and then a few things at the high school level. So, of course, our traditional updating of the school year, the school staffing, you'll see on the first couple pages. Of course, the table of contents will be updated once everything is finalized to match page to page. Revising list of courses offered to include any of those newly approved courses, so those get listed out there for each grade level. So again, the green section would be all of the places where that's pretty much those new classes that were approved last time and the different grades that are available for. And then again, when we get down to the high school section, we jump right into middle school there. So one change that you'll see throughout, previously we had a kind of disclaimer for every single class throughout the entire guide that would indicate if the course was offered virtually, which almost always it is. We'll see a few examples where the nature of the course it wouldn't be. But rather than having that as its own line under each one, we just have a little section that comes at the beginning that says, as a district, we are not formally and generally offering virtual programming. I guess here it is, that little disclaimer. So this just kind of stands for the whole section rather than having it as its own line. So again, we do see there noted that for the middle school, there are 3 classes: advanced PE, strength and conditioning, and video productions, that would not be able to work as a virtual course. Just based on the nature of what's going on in those classes and the materials the students would need access to if they were not here in the school building. So that is, wouldn't really say an addition, but it is just a difference of putting it in one place rather than, under each separate course. Going on from there, so like I said, you'll see that red stripe through on every single one. So that's kind of repetitive there. Page 24 is our next one. Yeah. See sick here.
Sorry.
There it is.
Okay. So this section is where, again, so one of the classes that was approved was the Creative Technology course at the middle school. And so as a reminder, that is a class that took pieces of computer programming, web design, and there's one other one, I'll remember it when we scroll by it, so they took pieces of each of those and made that year-long creative tech class rather than 3 separate classes. They get that little bit and piece of each of them through the creative technology classes. So that's why those ones have been removed, but the key concepts were just moved into creative technology. Multimedia development, that was and yep, so that multimedia development would be part of that, as well as video production is the same, web design also part of creative tech. Next one, page 30, yep, okay, so here is the theater class, so the changes that came with the theater class. So the class that was currently running at the middle school for theater, we've adjusted that name to be Introduction to Theater so that there's a differentiation between the two. So the new class that was approved is theater, and that should be the next one, and the previous or current class is Intro to Theater now. So kind of that scaffolding to include that new class. And then we have on page 39, we will see the newly approved STEM and agriculture class. And so that's the course description that came right out of the document that was approved by the board last month. Page 43, we're going to be getting into the high school now. So we Again, information is going to be largely the same. We reordered some things. There was, if you kind of went through the document before, it got to be rather repetitive. There was kind of the same information in different places because it, again, it got stretched out and spread out in different ways. So if we found where areas where it's like, oh, we already read this, we already saw this was already somewhere, we might have reordered things or found out of the 3 places where it was located before, which one place did it make the most sense, just to kind of streamline and simplify the document. So some things are in different orders. Again, this chart gets updated every year to indicate the new credit requirements. And then the list below, there's not very much change. Science there, we really don't have science. That's not something we've had for years to have, like where we have math credits. Allow math related credits we have for math, that's common. Typically, you don't see that in science anymore. We haven't offered that, so I think it was just something that didn't get deleted back when it stopped happening. So we cleaned that up. We have the guitar class that was just kind of missing out of that vocational list. Again, I'm sure an oversight from the past, so we made sure to include that and just change the wording to CTE because that is the wording we use. Got rid of information for 2025. CPR, again, CPR still exists. It is still required for us to give basic CPR instruction to our students in either their health or PE class, which our students are required to take. It didn't really need, it's not its own class, right? Everything else on that list was its own class. So CPR still happens. It's not its own class. It's not its own entity. It's not something that students do outside of that health or PE class. So that would be something, would be in the course description for those classes, but it doesn't need to be its own standalone. We didn't want it to be confusing and have people think their child is going to be taking a CPR class. It's not its own class. And again, that strikeout that's there is information that was somewhere else. So it just was moved to one place or the other. We did add, and just again, it's just really wording to clarify that junior year, the students do have to take the M-STEP and SAT as part of their graduation requirements. So just, again, clarifying that. I think we had somewhere else where it talked about the 40 hours of community service, so that got added here where we were talking about it. And again, the red strikeout is going to be seen somewhere else. It was duplicated in the document. So the scheduling requirements, again, not anything majorly different, just kind of clarifying some pieces. Previously, the EDP had like its own section, and so we sort of made that more concise. It matches what the middle school section looked like, so theirs was all in one page, like you're seeing here. So we made the high school section match the middle school section. These are outdated, so obviously we still talk about and have career pathways through CTE, but these, the Q&As are, again, they're outdated. These are not the descriptors that are used, and they're also many more. I'm sure Ms. Abel could probably tell us how many total pathways we have now. I think 17, and I think we had 6 or so, 8 on here. To add all 17 seemed a bit much for our course guide. Certainly, those are things we talk about with the students. Their counselor shares those pieces of information with them, but this particular information was, again, out of date. So it was either remove it or add all 17, but they change very frequently. So we thought it was best just to kind of leave that more open-ended. And this would be the match that we saw before. So just like the middle school, the high school classes will not individually talk about if it's offered virtually or not. So it has the overall disclaimer that as a district, that is not a mode of education that we're offering typically unless there was a documented reason. And it also lists the classes that would not be applicable for virtual. So AIS, culinary, the education CTE courses, emergency medical classes, TV and broadcasting, and writing for publication yearbook. So pretty much CTE and yearbook are the two that didn't quite fit that parameter. And just the name change on art, I think it was previously introduction to basic design. So just a cleanup on that to help students understand better what it actually is. It is truly an introduction to all those future art classes. They get a little taste of a little bit of everything, and so we thought that would help them make an informed decision as they were choosing classes. The high school teachers had a chance during one of our first PD days just to go through what was previously there, and if there were specific programs maybe that were used, little tweaks here and there. So again, in this one, Ms. Shannon wanted to make sure that we included printmaking for drawing one. So just little changes. Again, nothing is actually really changing with the curriculum. It was just sort of making this document match the reality in their classroom. And so here is where we, again, kind of took out pieces that were redundant related to CTE. So kind of just cleaned up and simplified the language that was there. So the same general sense of what we would want to share with students and families, but just a little bit more concise. So this is what we have as far as that Richmond for those career pathways. So instead of just having the generic ones that are just out there across the state, this is truly what a student in our district could look at as a career pathway, essentially. And so you kind of see if they were looking at business, what would that look like across, a several-year plan or high school plan. So that would be that piece. AIS, this is the year 3 of AIS, and so that is now all of the courses have the opportunity for an internship at the end as a final piece of their CTE pathway. So again, we didn't need to have AIS as its own. We have a separate section now that explains all of those internship opportunities, including AIS. You'll see this little addition at the end of most of the CTE classes, so they each have that opportunity for student leadership development, so whatever the appropriate method of that development is. So this particular one would be an option to have the student be part of DECA for that leadership development and part of an organization. So again, you can see that added to most of the CTE programs if it was not previously there. Again, just cleaning up those descriptions to better match what reality is in the classroom. Here's one of our pilot classes, so hopefully it all goes well, and you will see a full proposal for this course next year, around this time next year. Definitely this is one that's been highly talked about. The students have expressed interest. The teacher has been able to share the applicable forward opportunities for students that do take cybersecurity. It's definitely one of those trending areas right now, so we are excited to be able to offer that to the students and see how that goes for them. Culinary, we are adding that Culinary 2 course for students that have already fully completed Culinary 1, and so this is that idea of the students that would truly run the cafe. And so there will be students that already, it'll help hit the ground running right away. Again, pilot course for this year, but we have good high hopes that it will catch on and be the appropriate way to stack those culinary courses. So now it takes several months. It's usually, gosh, what month are we usually at when the cafe is able to open? About March, because you have so many pieces of learning, those foundational pieces that those students have to get before we can really open the doors to the public safely and properly. This would allow it to happen much, much sooner because it would be students who had that last year. They're ready to get the ground running coming in. So it'll really open up that subject area. And just changing, clarifying, cleaning up language of those descriptors. Still course revisions for most of the CTE classes, but yeah, not changing the actual content. So this one would just be, again, so there are a few classes that have not run for several years. They have been on the course selection sheets for students, but have not had enough students select them to where the classes had enough students to run the class. So in conversation with the high school team, we thought to sort of streamline things a little bit, we would look at a rotating schedule of some of those classes. So we would still like to keep, creative writing, contemporary thought, popular literature, those classes available for the future. We're not saying that we want to remove them from being approved in the future, but we would like to kind of rotate them to streamline what classes are offered at what time. And then again, hopefully that will encourage students to take them again in the future because it hasn't been offered for a while. It'll be something fresh and something new, even though it's a class that we have potentially offered in the past. And Ready for Publication newspaper, again, hasn't run in a long time, and unfortunately, that's kind of one of those dying career fields that will realistically, again, unless it was revamped to be something that was more digital formatted, we probably wouldn't see that come back. Again, just an updating, so the English courses were all updated to better match our new STABIS curriculum that was implemented, so those ones moved in that direction. Again, you'll see these strike-throughs are those classes that we saw up above that were crossed out for this year. And this is just a description of our intervention classes. They are not changing per se. There was some language about prerequisites in there, but if you look at the actual, if you scroll just a little bit, Brian, at the beginning, it explains in the intro how students are selected to be put into these classes. So we did not think it needed to be listed under every single one because it's there as the introduction. This is a little bit of a new concept, so we are looking at adding, again, as a pilot this year, AP pre-calculus, and so with that addition, it kind of opens up those potential upper classmen math classes that they can take. So we have a new pathway, if you will, of math courses. So you have kind of the traditional one, a student who's just taking those typical algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and then a math-related course. And then pathway 2 is more what we've seen in the past, of where you see a student who starts to move into that honors track because they maybe took algebra as a student, or were able to gain access into that. Pathway 3 would really be even a step beyond that. So students that are truly going to go deep into a math-related field and have opportunities to take multiple AP courses. And so again, adding that AP pre-calculus opens that pathway up to even branch into 2 and pathway 3, where they could keep on that calculus, pre-calculus, and calculus track, or if that wasn't their plan, they could still do trigonometry and also the AP pre-calculus later, or another math-related course. So really a lot of options and opportunities for our students to have the right pathway that will work for their plans. For the music classes, I think we didn't have it noted in all of them that they all met the BPAA requirement. So it's, again, an oversight that we made sure to include that in all of the ones where it should have been. Section, they're just matching things that we've already talked about, section to section. So the classes we talked about rotating. We've updated the heading of this section. It didn't really have a heading, it just sort of blended from the previous pages to this page. And again, mirroring more closely what the middle school section had, we gave it its own heading, so you kind of move from course listings into this new piece of the course catalog, so that's why it does have a heading now. This is where the information about community services listed that you saw stricken out above, it's just in this location. These online classes are the ones that we do offer for high school students, not the virtual teaching, but the true Michigan virtual online classes that are offered and have been in the past. Changes for dual enrollment or AIM, that's all the same, IAM. And the language on the form for work-based learning, so again, this would go back into those internship pieces like AIS, for example, that we saw in the course guide before, but now would be eligible for really any of the pathways. So the form is just updated to match the correct language of work-based learning. That's how the students will be able to get their hours for those programs. Just updating the dates so that they matched across the line there. This form is a permission slip that's used for one class only. So rather than having it be here, it will be available on the school website. And then that way, if there was another class in the future, they would have access to it and could use it if we had other classes that used film as a foundation or an anchor of their course. We wouldn't have to go in and update the form per se. It would just be a form, like a field trip form or other forms that we have available. Well, if there are questions, I will also, we have Ms. Marilla and Ms. Sabo available as well. If you have any specific questions.
I got one question regarding the virtual learning program. It specifically states that it would primarily just be for medical reasons. Would or could we add a something that offers something more broad? I guess if we had like another COVID type of scenario.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, if we got back into a situation where as a whole, wholesale, we would have to adjust back to virtual, that we would be in a situation of adjusting so many things, and absolutely this would be a piece of it.
Sure.
At this point, though, we are kind of trying to operate in, using this as, if everything was as it is right now, kind of traditional, right? This is, this year, next school year, barring any major pandemic, that would be the only type of offering. But if we did come into, we all could not be physically in school together anymore, that would be kind of an addendum that we would include, and absolutely we would cross that bridge if we had to. But, again, as things are running as normal, quote unquote, we wouldn't typically offer it anymore.
So Ray, the reason why we took it out and we put that statement in there, oftentimes when people are reading this, they're assuming we are offering a virtual option for families. And about it might even be 3 years now, we started getting, about 2 years, we started getting out of the business of virtual and going back to in-person pre-COVID, and just using the virtual option as it's stated right now as an option for people with a medical condition, doctor's office. So we wanted to make sure there wasn't any confusion that we are offering virtual for a student who doesn't have a medical condition, other than with the Michigan Virtual, we do that process.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if we're deciding on it now, if that's something that could just be added in now so that we wouldn't have to do it later on in the event that it would even come up.
So just like a disclaimer that if we were forced, obviously word it nicely, but if we were forced into a situation where we had to be, could not meet physically in person, that we could resume virtual?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
The only challenge, and I don't mean to be pushing back, the only challenge we have on that is when we go virtual from the state perspective, they usually set the rules that we have to play by, if you will. So when we were virtual during COVID, there was a lot of, depending on how virtual you were, whether you were synchronous or asynchronous, you had different sets of rules you had to play by. So just making a statement that if we'd have to include something, we'd have to follow the pupil accounting rules in order to get the FTE credit for that virtual assignment.
Okay.
Other questions?
So this will come back to the board on as you see on there, January 27th, which is your next, or tentative, you'll officially approve the meeting schedule in January at the organizational meeting, assuming it's the same schedule, January 27th for approval. So if you have any questions between now and then, or see something, obviously let Billy know it, and so we can address it, make that corrections or fixes.
And I'll do a quick sneak peek since Ms. Maygood and Mr. Gibson are here, and I don't know if they will be next time. So I should have had this time, but you will see it in January. Another piece that we're adding this year is an elementary course guidebook. So we've never had that before. Elementary, a little bit different. Of course, students aren't picking a variety of classes. They're getting their teacher, and then they have the same specials that each student gets. They all have the same ones on their rotation. But we did put together a course guide that in detail describes what their curriculums are, what each of those specials covers, and it's it's a very thorough document. Definitely very proud of what the team has put together with that. So we will also bring that to you for your approval. So just kind of a sneak peek on that. We're very excited to be able to share that next time.
Okay, so that I'm understanding and hearing you correctly, so there's a course guide that it's gonna be presented that wasn't part of this packet that we're gonna be voting on the next session?
It will be an additional, but it's much different than this. So it'll be a much simpler process. We've never had one before. And again, it's not, it's really just a description of what's there. It's not any new courses. It's not any, it's not any changes of courses. We truly just took a snapshot ultimately of what's at the elementary currently and put it to paper and made a nice document to share out. So we will certainly bring that to you. We want the board to be able to see that. But like I said, it's not adding, changing, deleting anything from the current curriculum that exists. It's just a great document to share what exists.
So to clarify, it would be a presentation and then an action item for board approval over 2 meetings. So the presentation might be in January, and the action would be the first meeting in
Yes,
February,
that would be
or it might be in February. But this is often asked of parents when they're registering kids. And so, again, kudos to the elementary team for putting this together. It's one of those things like, why don't we have this?
Right,
So
yeah.
it's good to have.
Yeah, it's looking really great.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to also thank our staff, our administration for putting this together. I know how much work it is. Okay, next item on our agenda is we're going to go into a closed session, so I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session.
Pursuant to MCL 15.268, Section 8H of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of considering material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Margaret? Aye. Sarah?
Aye.
Danielle? Aye. Sandy?
Aye.
Raymond?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. We're going to the board office. Okay, for our people out in the audience, we will be finishing our meeting once we return. Okay, next item on our agenda is our litigation against social media. Mr. Walmsley.
Okay, this is, there is a collection of school districts across the state that are in the process of filing a lawsuit regarding costs associated with social media. And this is similar to the Power School that was joined, but the topic is different than we voted on. There's a time frame that we have to let them know that we want to join part of this. So this particular one is to help reimburse districts for costs associated with the stuff that they're dealing. So for instance, social media, one of the costs that we have is Gaggle, which is a yearly cost which monitors social media. It's the Skillshare website that students are posting things. It's the time that we're dealing with outside social media stuff that's brought in, the administrators' time and so forth. And it's a way of, if we win, would allow them to get dollar value that the district would receive down. So what's before you tonight is, do you want to be part of this social media litigation? Again, it's again, very similar to Power School. Attorney representing, there's a list of districts in your packet in Michigan that have joined.
148.
Pardon?
148.
Yes. And that was as of that date that was sent to me. There could be more that have joined on. Some that are in our area that have decided, but I think the crux for me in recommending this is, yeah, there's a time that if the litigation goes through that we're going to have to gather stuff like we are doing with Power School. We'll identify what costs we're probably running discipline reports to figure out what students we dealt with, how much time did we deal with it. We'll pull our Gaggle bills, all of our social media software systems that we've put in place to try to prevent and block, but nothing's 100%. So again, this is a similar that the lawsuit is, the costs are all coming out. It's the top of the lawsuit, the settlement, the attorney. This one's through O'Reilly Rancilio, which is one of our attorneys. We generally use them for student disciplines, and we've done like board workshops in the past, especially when we have new board members, where the previous one was through Trim Law. So, sheets and try to provide you with all the backup. There's a couple things that the districts who have joined reports that have come out from the U.S. Surgeon General. There's again the list of the districts that have joined. So this is just asking the question, does the district want to be part of this also?
Ryan, can I ask a question?
Yep.
When it says the district pays only if financial recovery is awarded, is that a percentage of what's awarded, or is that a set fee? Could we at all owe them more than what we would be awarded?
No, in the conversation, if the award is $100 million, the attorney's costs are coming off that, and the remaining dollars are divided by the districts that adopted it. So we would not owe more or owe them anything, it's going to come off the top.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like the only cost that we would incur would be like secretarial type.
It's getting, like when we did the Power School Union
Yeah.
content, once we sent the resolution that the board was opting, they sent us a list of things that we needed to begin capturing so we didn't lose. Most of the stuff we don't have because we weren't effective.
Right.
But there are some things that we have that we captured and we're saving. This would be similar. They'll probably say, okay, what what
Right.
cost do you think you've incurred because of social media activities that have affected the school that would normally the school's costs?
Can you opt out at any time if down the road you don't want to do it, decide different?
There is you're not committed up until that settlement, you're not committed, you can, there's a term, opt out is the easiest term, yeah.
Okay.
You can decline the settlement offer.
And in the documentation you provided board members, it states that that will designate a district official to work with the legal team. I'm assuming that's going to be our legal representative.
For this particular one, it would be the interim superintendent, and it'd probably be Eric, our IT person, because we probably have to do, Candy's probably going to be involved from the finance end of what bills that we pay associated. We'd be looking at the function code of those bills would be paid for and associated, okay, we have this system because we have these social media involved in our school district.
Oh, okay.
So yes, there would be designated, like for the Power School, Sarah and I, the people accounting person sat in, we had IT there, we all kind of went through the list and divvied up who's responsible for what, for capturing. A similar process would take place here.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is our Educator on Loan program. Billy.
So we have a great opportunity coming to us from the Macomb ISD through the 35A grant, which is one of the ones that funnels through the ISD, and then they're able to share out services to the local districts with that money. So I believe it started 16 years ago, or somewhere around it. So quite a few years ago, they started the Educator on Loan program, and the name kind of came from it started as there would be Macomb ISD employees that they would then allow to go out to districts and serve as early literacy coaches, either did literacy and math. But that person was a Macomb ISD employee, and then the district was kind of borrowing them. They would, let them loan them out. Since its inception, the program has changed, and now when the ISD is able to offer a district an educator on loan, that teacher, educator, early literacy coach is ultimately what they become. They are an employee of the district, of their home district. It could be someone that already is an employee that shifts into this position, or it could be hiring outside and bringing somebody new in. But as far as what the ISD does is they provide $125,000 toward that person's salary. So in many cases, that could be the full salary or very, very close to that person's full salary, with including benefits.
Salary and benefits.
So they've always kind of started with their most at-risk schools in the county. So it's just over time, they've had enough carryover. These grants have increased in how much they're receiving as the county, and so this year they were able to offer Richmond the chance to have an educator on loan. So which again would be having someone that is a district employee in the capacity of an early literacy coach. So that would be a K-5 literacy coach. You can think similarly in a lot of ways to our instructional coaches, keeping in mind they are K-5, they're every subject area, they're kind of helping wherever they need to. This person would have a much more narrow scope. It would have to be K-5 only, and it actually could go pre-K. If you take that back, so they could help at pre-K levels as well. But it has to be literacy, and they would be working with teachers, but very, very targeted at our students that need heavy intervention. A lot of this group would come into play with like the dyslexia laws, different things like that. This person would sort of be our go-to in the district for changes like that. When we think about like read by grade 3 and all of those things of that nature, this would be the person who's sort of the district expert on all of those areas. So the first year of the agreement is a lot of training, so the ISD provides very extensive training in a number of early literacy programs and initiatives and resources, strategies, so that that person is able to bring them back and implement them across the district and train all of the teachers in that. They do have a number of, again, because they are paying that person's salary ultimately for the most part, a number of check-ins where they would have to go back and kind of report on how it's going, if we're seeing progress being made with those changes that they're implementing and with the pieces that they're bringing in. As of right now, again, obviously this is based on grant funding. The ISD can guarantee that they have funding. If funding was cut off tomorrow, with the carryover that they have, they would be able to carry on their current number of coaches, including the new ones invited this year, through the end of next school year, so the 26-27 school year. But again, unless funding was cut drastically, they have every intention and expectation that this would continue on. Like I said, it's been going for many, many years now, and they've continued to be able to grow it. They haven't been having to reduce. So we, again, like I said, we have that opportunity this year to potentially have that role filled for our district, and then again covered most fully by the ISD. And so we would like to move forward with that opportunity.
So basically the process right now is that we have a posting out there, see internal candidates who would be applied. There's interest there. I don't know if they posted quotes yet.
We requested applications by the end of the day yesterday, Sunday, but it is still open.
So at that point, we look at the internal candidates, okay, the current teacher that would be in the classroom, and at the same time, we've got to look at filling that position. For the win-win on this, if the funding does go away, the person that we have has, when you look at the extensive training that they're going to, it's an asset to our district regardless of whether they're in this position. Obviously, that would be great to keep them in it, but they're going to get a lot of training. The downside, if you will, is the current teacher, and it's more likely going to be a current teacher. We've got a backfill. The plus side is we've done a lot more student teachers, newer teachers. We have some really good student teachers who are ending their time. That would be, I mean, we would hire them in a heartbeat with an opening, and that's really good ones.
Yes, that is definitely good timing.
I got some questions.
Sorry, right?
Go right.
Yep.
All right, sorry. So you mentioned that the position would be employees of the district. So, but you also mentioned that they would be receiving grant funding. So I'm just looking to clarify, is that position paid for by grants or by the school district?
So basically what's going to happen is we continue paying the person, and then we invoice the ISD and they reimburse us that person's expenses up to $125,000. So their payroll, their benefits, their health care, their retirement costs, all that total cost of that person, we continue paying, we get a reimbursement from the ISD.
Okay, and is that on an annual basis?
Generally, the ISD, when they bill us or we bill them, they generally, it's usually twice a year, like with early college and International Academy of Macomb, we get a semester bill and then we get a June bill. So they generally issue. Now, on this particular one, I'm not 100% sure if it's, but generally the ISD does a semester 1, semester 2 bills.
Okay, And then, when would this start? Because in the memorandum agreement that was sent out, the information said it would start during the 25-26 school year. That would be this year, right?
Yep, so we would hope to be able to start it as early as possible in the second semester, so in, which would begin January 5th for us. They did reach out to us a little after the school year started. Typically, they try to get the people in place for the start of the school year. But as you know, we didn't have a budget right away as we started the year, and that impacted the ISD as well. So they weren't able to add any new folks until the school year had already been underway. And so again, we wanted to make sure we took our time with this and had everything kind of planned in place before we knew it was the right thing for us to move ahead on. And so now that it seems like the pieces have fallen into place as far as how we could backfill everything, we feel comfortable to move ahead in that way now. And like I said, hopefully have somebody in early January.
Okay, and then how many, you said that you guys recently posted open positions. How many positions are we looking to fill?
It's just for one.
Just
Yeah,
one.
we have just the option of one person.
Okay, and then, so far as parapros, I think we had this discussion previously, months ago, about the educators on loan, and I think we touched on that. I don't remember what came out of that conversation, but I thought I remember something about, would this position replace a parapro in some nature?
Well, there's a couple programs here that this position, this program would replace a teacher that's currently in the classroom who would take on this role, and we would hire that person. Whether it's a new teacher or someone else in their place. There are programs out there where we have parapros who were able to, if they were far enough, I think they'd have an associate's degree, could get their teaching certificate and their certification in special ed, and it's all 100% paid for. That's a grow your own thing. That's a grow your own world. That's a different program than what this is. This is, they have to be a teacher.
Certified elementary, ability to teach K-5 teacher, certified teacher for elementary grade levels.
And this is
Okay.
strictly for the literacy.
Yes, they
program.
would, yep, so again, the focus of this particular one that we've been offered is for literacy. Yep.
Okay, and then in the verbiage of the documentation, it says the roles and responsibilities of the participating district would be to allow oversight and direction of educator on loan by the MISD assistant superintendent for instruction or chief academic officer in partnership with district designee. So what does that exactly mean?
So kind of the rest of the contract, so in my mind, I kind of look at that as that's why that one is first. So that person, the chief academic officer of the ISD, would be, their direction is for this person to do the remainder of that agreement, right? So they are going to participate in the different trainings, right? So I'm looking at the last bullet point on that page. The designee of the assistant superintendent there of curriculum would be sending out someone to do an observation of that person a half day every 6 weeks. So we would agree that we would allow them to come in and do that observation of our educator on loan. Again, that list of trainings that's on the next page, and again, it is a variety. Like I said, that first year, it's a lot of training that they offer and provide our literacy coach. So that would be the expectation, is that they would, under the direction of the MISD, they would attend, and we would allow them to attend all of those trainings. And again, as you look down the rest of the responsibilities, those are all laid out by the MISD, and so the expectation is that we would monitor that our person in that role is following those expectations.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
The grant says we're trying to build literacy fluency among our kids, so we need teachers trained in X, Y, and Z. The ISD is the fiduciary of the grant. So in order for us to get the money, we have to commit. The person that we pick is going to go to those trainings and do it and take what they've learned back to the classroom. And we're just agreeing that yes, we're committing to that, and we're going to, this person's going to do it. The ISD, as Billy said, well, we're allowing them every 6 weeks. If you want to come in and make sure the person's doing what they're supposed to be doing, we have no issue with that, because we're in agreement that this training and this stuff is critical for our staff. a little different way to
no,
say it.
that gives me a little bit clearer understanding of what that means. And so when we were talking about the hiring position, you had mentioned, there may be several educators within the district already that may be interested in this position. Is there a requirement to hire inside or from within, or could that be to like an open?
It is posted in both ways. It is posted internally and externally.
I will say Billy and I and the administrators, Jennifer and Heidi, we've had conversations, variety, and there are some good people within our district that would be perfect for this job, who have the ability to not only take what they're going to get and go with it, but also influence in a positive way their colleagues and instruction in the classroom.
And an important piece to remember with this is it's not just a teacher in the classroom, but it is another adult working with the adults. And so having those relationships already built is a huge advantage, when you're working with peers in that way. Because they would still be part of the REA, they would still be a peer to the teachers, again, much like our instructional coaches currently are. But again, having those relationships is such a helpful piece if we're able to.
Okay, so you said the announcements closed on Sunday. Did you get a chance to kind of sneak peek or preview who applied?
We did, so this is kind of a hard. So we did have two external candidates apply. One was qualified, one was not exactly meeting the qualifications that we would need. I've had conversation with two of our teachers who are very interested. They've asked me many questions. I know that they would like to apply, but they did not put their application in on time. So as we said, we did request that it was done by midnight yesterday, but it is still open. So I have not had a chance today to follow up with those individuals that have reached out to me previously to ask questions and clarifying, comments about the posting. But I'm very confident that they are still interested and not sure, what delayed them. So I will follow up with them to make sure that they understood, that they did need to get that application in to be fully recognized.
And that posting, just so you're clear, like kind of minimum 7 days. It doesn't mean that we can't keep it
Right,
longer.
yeah, that was the
because
7 day
we're-
minimum.
And I'm not going to speak for the two individuals or the ones we talked about, but I can only speculate when someone's choosing to leave the classroom to go into this role, it's a big decision. And so they want to make sure, they know. Part of the stuff ahead of time was the unions agreeing that we have this option, which is part of the procedural stuff, which we have. They're all on board and very supportive of this. So I would think it would be our best interest, and what we'd like is to really see if those people that we've had conversation, we really would like one of them.
Could see it. And like Brent said, I think it's just that fear. Now, right, where we haven't gone with that conversation is to say, you might be worried that you're leaving your classroom, right, you've built these relationships, but that we have seen some of those great student teachers that we have in place, and they might not realize that, right? So I think there's some things where they might be nervous, and so like I said, I definitely want to reach out and make sure they understand that, it is a great opportunity if they really are interested. So I think we will, and again, we were kind of trying to keep that deadline tight. Like I said, we're hopeful that we can get this up and moving by January, so we wanted to be able to potentially do some interviews before we left for break. I'm still hopeful that we can get there, but we will kind of see how those conversations go right now.
So Billy, so we know the funds could be through next year.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if there aren't any funds? Do they go back into the classroom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and if we were in a situation not to be able to continue, right, we'd be looking at seniority and those kind of things if we had to remove somebody because of that.
And if the grant ends, are we committed to keeping this position as a
No.
district? We
No.
can
Yes, it
say,
would end.
unfortunately, it ended.
Yeah, 100%.
I do have one more question. If a teacher accepts this, can they back out if they get into it and they say, this really isn't for me, I missed the classroom, or are they committed for a certain?
So they're committed for the year. So for us to be, kind of prorated this school year. If it just didn't turn out and it really was not the right fit, I think what would happen is we wouldn't be eligible to get the reimbursement. So we'd be out that money. If we put them back into the classroom would be the repercussion of that.
So we might, as a district, just say,
You need to
stick
need
it
to
out.
stay.
That's, I think, the message
A
we're
year
sending
from
is,
now.
you're
Yeah.
you're committing to
Right.
this year and a half,
Okay.
and we know the position's gonna be there, because the funding is there.
I like that better.
Yeah.
So, Brian, you know I'm cautious about any grants. But first, what struck me was, what makes us at risk?
Every district in the county, so like I said, I think we are the second to last or third to last district in the county that didn't already have one. So they start with their most at-risk of students, so low poverty rate, low test scores, those, those are their main target factors. And so they would have started with the districts within the county, like I said, 16 years ago, that were those, top, schools that had concerns in those areas, and they had them 16 years ago. And so now they have enough funds to continue to add them to more and more and more districts. So, I mean, if money was good, every district in the county would have an at-risk, would have an early literacy coach because they can fund it. And you always have students who could stand to improve their reading.
So it's not saying that we're at risk.
Right. But it's.
At-risk
it
is a
an
broad
at-risk.
term from the perspective, they look at free reduced lunch rates.
Right. And so we.
They look at our,
And our
take
student
our
test
third
scores.
grade reading level.
Yep.
We're
Those are the
not
two
at
things.
risk when you look at the spectrum of third
Right.
grade.
Compared
Compared to the other, we're not at risk.
But we have students who are not proficient, we have families who are free and reduced lunch, so because we have that, we're eligible
It took us 16 years to
to
get
be
there.
eligible.
Yeah,
compared to the
that
rest
was
of the
my
county.
comment. It took us 16,
Right, yeah.
look at the other side of it. It took
Exactly.
us 16 years to get to the top of the list.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so there's that many districts that they've already taken under their wing
Correct.
before us.
And some
They're
have
just
multiple,
multiple,
like I
right?
said, they could be ELA and math, some have, if a district has 5 elementary schools, they might have one in every elementary school, so we're not near the top of that at-risk list at all. Nowhere close.
Okay.
Very
This was,
much.
this was, I'll be honest, this was a shock to me that we even got asked.
Yeah.
And they, it just, and there are some districts who turned it down and have funded it internally through other sources, because they wanted to do their own system.
Right.
For us to create our own, the ISC does some really good stuff. Let's use what they're doing in training. They provide all the training, we don't have to coordinate that, but we send the people to the training on that day.
So, I know the paperwork says educator on loan. I mean, this isn't the actual grant in which we're receiving. This isn't the grant.
The educator on loan, that's not.
Yeah, the ISD receives the 35A grant funding, and with that, they are able to provide this opportunity to the districts of Macomb County.
The ISD gets the grant.
Correct.
Not
We-
us.
We don't have
They
to
give us-
adhere to the grant, they do.
Correct.
We're not being held to whatever the grant language is.
No, we just have to agree to this agreement.
This
that's in front of you. Yep, this would be the extent of what we're agreeing to.
And the finances go towards the,
Salary and benefits of
Salary
that
and-
person.
Salary benefits, like your retirement, so the total cost. So if the individual that's coming out is, let's say their total cost is, when you look at healthcare, retirement cost, all that stuff, 130,000, we're only getting 125. Generally, unless you've been here 30-plus years and you still have a full family, our teachers aren't.
and so
Yeah.
there's no gathering of information from any of the at-risk students of any sort.
No, what they're
Is
doing
it
is
that
they're
for extra-
taking the training and implementing that in the classroom.
And
So
that's
if it's a research-based way on how to teach kids phonics or reading,
Right.
we want to learn it and implement it if it's not already been done.
Right. And so as far as, like I said, kind of bullet point.
So no child is attached to as an at-risk or anything? It's
No.
not getting that?
No, nope, that is not pertaining to this at all. Like I said, they do have to provide data updates, yes, the literacy data, monitoring of the student progress, but again, that would not be down to the student level. It would just be, in April, our students, just like we see with M7, in April, the students took this reading check and they were at 50% proficient. We took it again in May, and as an average, we were 60% proficient. It's that.
It's really just the assessing of that.
Mhm.
It's the aggregate rather
Yeah.
than down to the student.
Yeah.
If they did ever in the future require something down to the student, would parents have an option to opt out of it?
Definitely, right. And again, it's really what they're already doing in their classroom. This person is just coaching to make sure the teachers are doing it to the best they possibly can. But absolutely, I mean, if there was something different that came out, again, they can't really, if we're agreeing to it, they wouldn't change it mid-year. So if next year they had a new agreement and it changed, we would bring it to you again, and if we weren't comfortable then, we could back, not agree to it in a future year.
And I would just say this, if the ISD ever agreed to that, we
Yeah.
can check, because we have been the lone soldier fighting the state on not
Yes.
sending student data.
Yeah, they
But
definitely
you're
don't
right.
ask
We
us
can
for
do
that.
that.
Any other questions? Okay, now, do we have to vote on any of that anymore? or what will
What's
happen?
the process, there doesn't need to be a board vote, so part of it was information. What you're gonna get is a replacement of the domino effect. Once we don't have that piece yet, and that will come to you, whether it's an email from me or after the new year, an email that says, here's where we're at in this. Obviously, we wanna make sure we have the best transition with the teacher. If it is an internal teacher leaving and the teacher coming, that there's a transition, and that those parents of those students are notified. We will keep you updated on it, but it is a reimbursement. It's an extra person will do a cost to us.
I'm sorry, I got one last question. Have the teachers of the district already been, had this program brought to them, and what are their thoughts on it?
I mean, so the posting was out there, and the, kind of, as Sarah sent the posting out, she, in the email, included kind of a description of generally what it is, what that role would be. So they've seen it in that way. Again, so from that, we've had a couple of conversations where we had the teachers that were very interested in it, right, and very interested in participating in that. And like I said, it's really very similar in so many ways to our current instructional coaches, which we know our teachers very much appreciate. And, I have had really great success with working with our current coaches. So it's really adding that, it's adding another type of coach. This particular one would be, again, focused on a smaller area, that K-5 literacy, but it will function in very much the same ways the teachers are used to operating with our current instructional coaches. So again, we've had very positive feedback and reviews from that. So, I think the teachers are going to see it as a very, very similar role and support system from this new role.
Right, okay, but it hasn't been presented to them as, hey, what are your thoughts about having, the educator unknown in their classroom?
Well, it's been presented to the union leadership to get a LOA on that they're supportive of doing this program. And then we presented it in terms of, as Billy said, the notification. Here's what we have a chance to get this educator on grant. Here's what they're gonna do. If you're interested, apply or let us know. And that's where we've had some that have had questions, but collectively, we didn't ask individual teachers yes or no. We had to start with the union leadership who represents them, saying, would you agree to this LOA that we have this teacher kind of stepping out of the classroom? And if the funding goes back or goes away, they go back into the classroom. That has been approved and they've agreed to that.
And another piece where, again, like Brian said, it hasn't been that direct question of yes or no. But we have, the last couple of professional developments for the elementary school have been very heavily early literacy focused. They've really been receiving some great training through NWEA. Again, that's for the entire teaching staff at the elementary school, and they have raved about this training. I mean, they are really eager to continue with that early literacy learning as the adults, as the teachers in the room. So I think, again, also knowing that they are really excited and really interested in continuing to pursue our growth in that area, this is exactly in line with that. I mean, this gives them another avenue of just deep expertise and support in something, again, that area is an area that they are very excited to be pursuing. So, like I said, without having the direct question, based on, where we're going, it does seem to me to make very good sense that this is a good fit.
All right, thank
They're
you.
already used to having
Coaches.
Oh, yeah.
So this
They're
is just,
asking.
to me, this is just another resource for them.
But
To help coach.
specifically, it says implementing an instructional delivery model based on frequent use of formative screening and in diagnostic tools known as multi-tiered system of support
Right.
to determine individual progress for students. Could you
That's
just
what we
give me an
do.
example of
Yeah,
that?
so that's what we
Already
do.
do
So,
that.
so we have the SAVIS ELA curriculum, right? And so within the SAVIS curriculum, there are at least weekly, if not beyond weekly, sometimes daily checks. So those are those formative checks. So that's already built into the curriculum. So to answer that part of the question, what a teacher would be able to do with some of this additional knowledge and support from the literacy coach who then goes up to the ISD and does some deeper level training. Okay, well, I gave the kids this quiz on Tuesday and they have a bigger quiz or the test Friday. As that teacher, what can I do with that data? How can I use my quiz scores and the feedback from the students that I got on Tuesday to change my instruction to make sure that by Friday when the big test comes, they're ready? And so that person would really be able to help them dig into that data. Was the question written poorly? Was it, oh, we ran out of time that day when we got to the part that's in question 3? So again, it's what's already there. It's just giving them a deeper look and just more tools to be able to do more with what we already have. And then we also do have our diagnostic tools within that. So that's the curriculum piece with formative. But our students, we know they're using IXL this year. And so that gives us, it can give us very up-to-date ratings on where they are and what their growth is. And so we would continue to use that. And again, similarly with the formative assessments, this literacy coach would be able to kind of dig deeper into those reports that are available through IXL, which our students are already taking. And again, just take it to that next level. They're already spending, to me, that's so important because we are having the students spend time doing some of these assessments, but if we're not taking that next step to then do something different and change the plan to help them continue and improve, we're kind of wasting our time. And to me, this really leverages that, to be able to let all of our teachers know, what do I do? This is what the data tells me. What do I do next? What's that next step I should take? And this will get them there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next item on our agenda is our interim superintendent discussion. So last week, I met with Brian and Billy, and we talked about, okay, where is our pay going? Where do we need to go from here? So our first step in the first document I want you to take a look at is the one where Billy kind of went through her job duties. And it's,
Do we have that printed? Because my computer went down.
I don't have it, but,
I didn't, in my bag. Thank you. I had it up and then it went down.
oh, okay, got it. Okay, so if you look at this document, Billy put this together for us, and what it shows you is that the first column shows you the duties that she will have to still continue doing as far as curriculum is concerned. So these are curriculum jobs that she will still be doing while she is also going to be doing the superintendent duties. The second column would be duties that we would share with our administrative support that we're going to put in place, or our curriculum assistant in place there. So she would be sharing it, maybe she would be overseeing it. And then the third column is duties that we could give to our person that we're going to put in place there to help her out during the 6-month period. So are there any questions on what you can see there in that piece, or anything you want to ask Billy at this point?
I have one question.
Yes.
So you're not considered the curriculum assistant right now. You're the curriculum. So interim curriculum assistant feels like the wrong terminology because she's not the interim curriculum assistant. She's the interim curriculum
Sure.
director.
So a lot of the roles that I think, in my mind, make a director different than like this case would be an assistant, would be a lot of those more administrative duties. So I will continue to carry, as you guys see in that first column, all of the building administrator evaluations and oversight of that, as well as the other departments that I currently oversee and provide evaluations for, which would be the special education, IT, and the instructional coaches. So I will continue all of that. So that's a big piece of that directorship that this person will not carry. Again, if we look through anything that really involves having a district level person with like the login credentials to be, so for instance, for our grant system, Nexus, Tammy and I are the 2 level 5s for the district. We have that top level access. I would maintain that. I would not give that over to that person. So that's really the difference, is those really higher level administrative functions will stay with me, and so this person won't have any of those. So because of that, that was the reason why we made the change in the title. We wanted it to be clear that they weren't going to be, overseeing those pieces. They're really assisting me as I continue to oversee those, but have a lot more on my plate.
So is that enough for the assistant to do in a week? Still though, taking all of what you do, what you're keeping away, yeah, I feel like,
So
did we give her other things?
a piece that so everything, I don't want to say, like, I mean, this is obviously, it seems very simplified, right? But I tried to take like a broad stroke of everything that I typically do, where would be expected to do over the course of like second semester is kind of where I tried to focus when this position would be available. A column that you don't have, but that I do have kind of, that exists, is what they would continue to do. So if this person is, somebody that, again, if we're looking at moving an instructional coach into that position, in theory, then what pieces of their current role would they continue? So much like I would have now the new superintendent positions that are new to me, and I'd have those shared duties, and then they kind of, on the back ends, they have the shared duties, the new curriculum duties, and also they're carrying on of what, so for instance, I mean, again, as we kind of get into it, but if that person is already having mentored, people that they're mentoring, I would expect them to continue that. If they're already in the middle of a coaching cycle, that's going to continue. If they have a PLC group within the district that they are the lead PLC facilitator, they'll continue that work. So it's both ends of the spectrum there.
Okay, that helps, thank you.
Any other questions on that piece? So with that in mind, we sat down and we developed possible payment or stipend, and one of the, we looked and I know we talked about a daily rate, but then I had gotten a hold of MASB just to get some input and thought about this piece, and they suggested, have we done anything past practice? So we did, when Mr. Walmsley took over or did our personnel piece, we gave him a stipend. We didn't consider a daily rate. So we sat down, we looked at, and you'll have that in the chart like. There's two of them. There's the one's for Billy there. You'll see how many days there were in there. Things we had to consider is that she's not only going to be doing the superintendent job, but she's going to be about 50% is what we're looking at. She's going to have to keep curriculum-wise. She also, something we have to consider is that what maybe it wouldn't be considered normal is we're going to, if we vote on it, whatever we've agreed, we're going to work on the bond. So that has additional pieces and additional hours that she would not, anybody would not normally have. So those were pieces we all looked to come up with the figure that we have on here. So if you look up at the top of hers, you'll see on the right-hand side up there in the yellow part, it shows a stipend of $18,000.
So what's this form then?
This form, Mr. Walmsley helped
There's
with
like
this.
two different numbers, I guess I got confused.
Okay,
So,
sorry, Brian, I'm
let me,
gonna-
so you have one that looks kind of like this.
This,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is a summary of the form. So on the top part, you'll see, if I was here all year, this is just payroll, this isn't like benefits and all that, but this would be the salary all year. Second line in that top part is Billy, and the third line is the instructional coach. The second part, since I'm here half of the year, you wouldn't be paying my salary the other half of the year. That's why it's zeroed out. In Billy's case, the first half, there's 131, 32 days that she would be paid at her current rate as director of curriculum. And then on the flip side, the 128 days, which is the second half, as the interim superintendent, that will be that rate. That number that's there is shown on this breakdown, how we got to that number when just the calculation was done. And the third person was moving an instructional coach to be the interim assistant. So when you add up the three, half of my salary, Billy's, half of hers, the interim superintendent, the stipend, the instructional coach, and then the interim curriculum assistant, it nets, there's a savings, which, I mean, because you're saving on my salary, not paying the other half of the year. So that's what this second part, that's why you see that summary on the summary. So what we try to do is give you, here's kind of the 30,000 foot. These are the details for the interim superintendent and the interim, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, I drew a blank on
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you. So that's where the pieces come. And so in that process, you'll see there's a letter of agreement, if I'm speaking out
Go
of
on.
turn, just
You're fine.
that, you know, if we're looking at moving and looking at what's least disruptive to the organization, that's been Billy and the conversation that Deb's had within that, and moving an instructional coach into that position. If we did that, the EA's position is this person is no longer a member of the EA, so we had to get that worked out, the details. So basically, they're allowing them to leave the unit for 6 months, and then becoming next year, they would come back to their previous position once the board approves a permanent superintendent, and so it kind of undoes the domino effect.
And we're not replacing the instructional coach
So-
for the rest of the year.
So in that, again, this is like the pieces fell together, I mean, more perfectly than we can imagine, right? We got that opportunity for this educator on loan.
Yeah.
So we have a second coach that we could have join us.
For this year.
Granted, they focus on the K-3, but that would free up the other instructional coach to focus more on the upper grade levels. And again, even though, like I said, as I'm thinking of the whole thing, okay, but then we have a teacher who we have to replace. Like I said, we have these great intern teachers right now, so it really truly allows us to maintain what we are doing this year almost seamlessly.
Yeah.
You know, both in practice and financially.
And then really, to come July 1 or next school year, you basically have the 2 instructional coaches back,
Back.
plus
Right.
the
As a
intern or the
bonus if
teacher
we
on leave.
continue.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So my only concern is that the loan that this instructional coach is only taking kind of like half of the year, but we're paying her the full difference as if she was fulfilling your whole role.
So a big thing to keep in mind is on the teacher end, she would have been done June 5th. Would be her teacher contract would end, and this contract extends her through the end of June. So when we look at that breakdown of her additional, almost half, or actually a little more than half of what she's getting paid difference is coming from that month of June. So we, we're extending her work calendar by a full month.
So June 5th would normally be her last day.
Mhm.
She's working 1, 2, 3, basically 3.5 more weeks.
But she's going from 83,000 to 122,000.
No, that's, you gotta look at, it's prorated. That's pro, but if you look at the daily rate of that teacher currently,
Okay.
you see the daily rate there on the left side.
Which form am I looking at? Because there's
This
so
one
many.
where you have the teacher schedule on the left
Okay.
side.
Yep.
And then on the right side, you have the interim curriculum assistant. Both start with a full salary. So if you look at the left side, in the purple at the bottom, in this particular example, it's 36,000 for the first semester. And then you look at the other, which are 129 days. Again, initially the thought was, could it just be an EA member and keep? But when they do it that way, they're doing whatever their time is, 7:35 to 2:45, there's limited. They being the union, did not want it to be part of their membership. But if it is at that point, then we gotta post it, you gotta pick, and you gotta go through the whole process. So they rather agree to have her leave, have this opportunity, and then we issue a contract, which is similar to what Billy has, which would be the action you'd have tonight, saying, okay, take this contract, but it's gonna be a prorated amount. It's not gonna be that full amount, it's gonna be for the days it actually work. So when you actually look at
per day
the
amount.
per day amount, it's really on a per day amount, you're talking basically $20 more a day, per day amount.
But, okay, so let me just make sure I got this right. If she stayed in her current spot, she would end up making 83,000 for the year, right?
Yes, the whole year as a teacher,
The whole year as
working
that.
184 days.
And then if she took this role, worked an extra 3.5 weeks, she ends up with 97. because it's prorated.
No, it's at the bottom, it's 60.
No,
When
I
you
mean
add
the
the
whole
teacher,
year.
the whole year,
She
yes,
makes
yes. When you
97,
add the
yeah.
teacher and this, it's a total of 97.
So for 3.5 weeks, she's making the 14,000 extra.
But there's evening activities
I'm
in
just
there.
gonna say that.
Well, and I
There's-
wondered, and
Yeah,
that was my.
It's not a teacher day,
Yeah.
from a 7-hour day, it's Billy's day.
Well, and that was on my list of
Yeah.
questions, even for the superintendent spot. I don't know, because you are taking on a lot of, like, you're taking on his whole job, and then you're keeping,
Right.
so how many hours a day does that equate to?
Right, so, I mean, and.
Are you gonna be
it's hard
here
to guess,
16
right?
hours a
Right?
day?
I mean, it's hard to guess,
Feels
let's
like a
go
lot.
on that. But again, that's where that comes in, is I need to know that I have that person that's available, right? Because there will be times when I can't be in two places, but I need to be at once, and then I can rely on her to do that, and if it's in the evening, it's in the evening. And so it's, you know, a little bit hard to say for sure, like you said, we have it on paper, but what does that look like in reality?
Right.
And so I think we're just trying to be as prepared as possible to make sure we can, you know, that we don't hit a situation where, oh no, like we are stuck and we need somebody to do this and we don't have them. And I think this will allow us to, like I said, my top priority from the beginning was how do we just keep our momentum going? How do we not let anyone else in the organization feel these little speed bumps and, you know, along the way? I'm sure it will be tricky, but I think this plan allows that. And so I think this is just making sure this, you know, as compensation level allows us to ensure we can do that and guarantee that she could be there.
Because that's what I had. I had the evening functions,
So
like we
what
have
like, what would
awards,
she do?
like award ceremonies.
But you got roundup, coordinated
Yeah.
roundup, that's,
Yeah.
the buildings do a chunk of it. There is a piece that Billy's
So
involved in.
I would say Billy would have
Correct.
done that.
Yes.
Correct,
Yeah.
that's something that needs,
That would be a
it
big
could
piece
be
of theirs.
the Cal meetings, which is the curriculum meetings,
Mhm.
Billy would be normally going, this person would go.
So she'd have to be at work all day and then still be expected to stay in the evening.
There would be, even just,
Like New Teacher Academy, for instance, is, you know, it's little by little, but it adds up slowly but surely, right? So,
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, we didn't, I don't know what's on here, we looked at breaking it down, like if we were paying her hourly and all these things, it wouldn't, especially when you got down to that daily rate for those extra weeks in June, it wasn't wildly different. You know, but this was a clean.
the difference on the teacher side, if she were to stay a teacher, technically by contract, and I know a lot of teachers do not do this because they give a lot, but technically by contract, if she worked beyond that day, we'd have to pay workshop rate. And the management of that time slip, it would be very.
That was an idea we ran with for a while, and it was like, and we started talking about all the different things, it was like, oh my gosh, that would be a night, I mean, and it would add up, like I said, it would add up to where we are anyway. So logistically, it didn't, right?
Yeah, maybe.
The difference we have on the non-union side is they really don't have a work day. We try to balance it, we all try to do, but I can tell you, Sarah's been here late at night, Tammy's been here late at night, Billy's been here late at night. They've done it, there's not necessarily a defined, where when you're dealing with a bargaining unit, the wages, hours work are defined,
Yeah.
as you know,
Yeah.
in that contract.
Yes.
And then if you go beyond it, you gotta compensate.
There's a-
And so we looked at, okay, our goal, and again, my 2 cents is, I was just giving my 2 cents in the process. The ultimate goal is to have it through June 30th, so that as you guys go through the process to hire the next superintendent, with hopefully an effective date of July 1. It gets the ship staying the course for the 6
Those
months.
6 months.
But normally her current contract goes until the last day of school.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the goal would be, when we do hire the position, they would take all of, assuming
Right.
that it was vacant, let's just say.
Basically, right.
If it were vacant for next year, and we were
Right.
hiring someone, they would be taking on all of those responsibilities.
Yes, like the whole domino effect would undo and we'd be right back to
Okay,
it, right?
got it, okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure that we got it.
And what I do, again, for what it's worth for the board, I know this is a big decision and going forward. The process and the thought has been, how do we maintain the good things going on? And I think, as Billy said, those speed bumps, and we're gonna have them. And just knowing that Billy needs to keep her pulse on certain things and identifying those, these are the things, such as grants. I mean, when you're talking Nexus, there's a partnership between Billy and Tammy that's gotta work from a budgetary perspective. I would not feel comfortable just turning that over and letting the person who's here just figure it out, and you're on your own. We would help them, but there's still gotta be some oversight. I think that's the balance that Billy was trying to create. And These are the duties I still want to keep because it's important to keep.
Okay, so a third part to all of this, and I'm going to pass it over to Billy, is who would be that person that would take her part of her duties? So Billy?
So we've kind of, we've kind of touched and hinted around it, obviously, at this point, because it's all wrapped into that big conversation. But, when I currently work very closely with our two instructional coaches. They are somebody that's part of my team. I hold regular meetings with them, as I do with the administrators, don't get me wrong. But they have that, like Brian said, that pulse on the entire district. They are very, very involved in our curriculum initiatives, K-12. And so Jessica Schlehuber has been in that role and has been in our district for many years and has been successful in this role for the last several years. And again, just from my work with her, my time with her, seeing how she handles pushing out curriculum initiatives, how she handles leading groups of teachers and training groups of teachers, I feel very confident that she is a staff member that would be able to take on what we have in that middle shared column. Her and I work well together as far as, kind of being able to pick up those pieces. And again, like Sarah said, it could get messy, okay, I all of a sudden had to do something. And, I think she could easily go with the flow and pick up those pieces along the way as things ebb and flow throughout these 6 months. And again, she was someone that I had in the back of my mind initially. And then when it just sort of, like I said, it could have been the better situation of like, oh, and we have the opportunity for reimbursement for a full coach in the district. Well, that answers that. And, oh, we have the opportunity to bring in potentially one of our intern teachers with that. It was like everything, it allows, like I said, I don't feel like the organization will feel a negative impact by allowing Jessica to move into this position to assist in the curriculum office because of those, again, the domino effect of how we can backfill everything, like I said, in a way that doesn't cost us financially and still provides the love and support that our teachers are accustomed to having.
Don't we have another instructional coach already also?
We do. So she's been in the role, in that particular role, less time than Jessica, and in the district less time than Jessica. And Jessica has tended to have more of the full scope K-12 initiative, whereas Ms. Retman, our other one, has tended to be a little bit more secondary specific. All of this year, again, different. Their office is located in the elementary, so everyone's kind of getting a little bit of a different, sense of what their roles and duties are just because of their location, which is helpful. But again, I think just based on more so the experience that she has within Richmond, she felt like the better fit.
Will she feel a little bit of this though? Will she have to take on more?
Ms. Retman or Ms. Schlechter?
Schlechter.
Well, she'll have, like we said, so she'll have that, that's again part of that, right, why we're offering her that stipend, because she will still carry a number of instructional duties. So anything, instructional coach duties, any major projects, the folks that she mentors, any of those things that I wouldn't want to change midstream, she'll continue with. But we'll have the benefit of having that early literacy coach who can spend a lot of time with our lower grade level teachers, which again will free up Ms. Retman to focus more on the upper level teachers. So it should balance out when we have everybody in place in that way.
Okay, any other questions before we move on? Okay, thank you.
Can I just,
Oops.
if it would be
Yep.
okay with the board, if we just go out of order for a minute
Oh, so
and
we
allow
can.
our girls to do their student board reports, so maybe they could get home.
I have.
I'm okay with that.
Is that
Yeah, I'm
good?
fine
Thank
with
you.
that.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies?
Okay, ladies.
The band concert this is for high school. So there's a band concert Tuesday at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. There's a choir concert Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. And the Blue Duck Cafe is now selling holiday cookies, so go support our culinary arts program by placing an order today. The Devil's Den will be open for holiday shopping on Wednesday and Thursday of next week from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Right, the middle school's got a lot going on. So last week, students in the 4th and 5th grade music mini had their concert in the evening, and much of it was holiday themed. Students along with third grade music mini put on an amazing show, and we thank Ms. Smith for all of her hard work. 5th through 8th grade students had the second presentation in the Cyber Safe School World Series. Mr. Norm Gibson was there on December 1st and talked to the students about safety when using the internet. This week, our band and choir students are preparing for their holiday shows. Monday, December 15th is the choir concert, and Tuesday, December 16th is the band concert. We are looking forward to both. Tuesday, December 9th begins our annual Battle of the Bays. Students will decorate their lockers for the holidays, and the school will look like a Christmas extravaganza. Special judges will make their final decision on December 15th, and the winning grade will be announced at an assembly on December 19th. On Friday, December 12th, girls basketball will be participating in Moonbeams for Sweet Dreams at Royal Oak, Beaumont. This is a voluntary event, and the students will caravan with their families to the hospital. This is a very moving event, and we're so proud of our girls for giving their time to spread some cheer to the youngest and bravest patients. Final exams will be held next week on December 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. Other classes will have projects due as their final assessments for the semester. We know our students are working hard to prepare for their success.
Elizabeth, what day was moving?
I think they said the 12th.
Which was that?
The movies.
Our preschoolers put on a spectacular Christmas concert this year, filling the auditorium with holiday cheer and big smiles. Families packed the room to support our young performers, and the turnout from our community was amazing. Getting up in front of a large audience is no small task, and we are incredibly proud of them. We want to thank our amazing preschool staff for their dedication in preparing the students and to our families for the ongoing support. Moments like these remind us of the special community we have here at Lee. We are so proud of our preschoolers and the growth they've shown so far this year.
Athletics. Thursday, the boys basketball team scored their first win of the season in an exciting game against Marine City. League games begin tomorrow as they travel to Yale. Bowling opened their season today at home against Armada. Girls basketball will tip their season off at home on Wednesday against Marysville. Also, congratulations to 7th and 8th grade girls basketball teams for each completing season sweeps of Armada with wins on the road last week. This weekend was busy for the high school wrestling team. On Saturday, they hosted JV Invitational. On Sunday, they hosted the first annual Richmond Girls Wrestling Invitational. There were over 90 athletes who competed on either day, and both events went very smoothly. A huge thank you to all the parents and volunteers that helped put on the events. We wish everyone a very happy holiday season and a wonderful new year.
Any questions for our ladies? Thank you both. Thanks for staying this long. Okay, we're going to go back to our agenda. We're on 9D, bond application. Mr. Lomson.
Okay, so next Wednesday, we have a 10 o'clock meeting scheduled, what's called a preliminary qualification call. If you recall, we've been talking about in November, we talked about the bond and how it did not pass in November, several reasons, et cetera, for that. And so at the direction that I was given was to begin preparing for another chance, if you will, to go back to the voters in May. So in order to do that, you have to have what's called a preliminary qualification with the Michigan Department of Treasury. That involves, obviously, the Department of Treasury. It involves district representatives, our construction contractors, our architects, the financial PFM representatives for the district. So we have been working on that. The application is due to Treasury by Friday, so we can review it on the call on Wednesday. What will happen after that call is the Treasury may or may not we'd like you to change some things or maybe reorder things in the document. And so once that's been done, then it will come to the board at a special meeting on the 18th, where the board will actually decide whether you want to send the application to Treasury. And that's scheduled for the 6:30 meeting on December 18th. Assuming the board does that, then that will go to Treasury. They'll have basically 3 weeks to 4 weeks to review it. And they'll send you a letter saying, yes, you've been approved to go out for the voters for a bond. And then on January 27th would be a vote of the board to authorize language to put on the bond. Very similar process what we did last May, June, and then ultimately get it to the elections clerk. So what you have in your packet are some updates to what is needed for the preliminary qualification. The bond application, the actual scope of work, did not change. But since May, when we started this for the November, there has been some things that have evolved and changed. So for instance, you'll see first of all the enrollment projection. It's the same company that used it. In generally on this one, there are some, remember there are 5 different ways they look at it. So there are some methods that just do not have us as large of an increase. And part of that is because when you do an enrollment projection, you look back 5 years to see what your enrollment was. When we did the first one, three years ago, we captured that time period pre-COVID and COVID. If you remember, during COVID, we were the only district in Macomb County that actually increased enrollment, okay? So now you fast forward to the second enrollment projection, which was done for the November bond. You're now getting those blips, if you will, off the average. And so when we get to this one, those pre-COVID are now off the average range. So when you look at that enrollment projection report, method 4 consistently has been the enrollment projection, and the numbers that actually came in has been pretty consistently accurate for Richmond schools. That still shows an enrollment increase. Okay, and again, there's a description of how methods 1's calculated, how methods 2, basically methods 5 is an average of all the methods. So the enrollment projection is showing increase, it doesn't show as much, but I think the key on this when we look at it is you have to look at the grade bands, and when you start looking at that kindergarten through 3rd grade, moving into middle school in particular, there's growth in the middle school again, and we have no rooms to put the kids, other than raising class sizes. That would be the most immediate. We have to be real creative in that aspect. And then as you extrapolate that data and go out a couple more years, as those kids hit high school, you're going to see an increase in high school. So that's the first, I don't want to say it's a change, but an update to the application that will get submitted, because it will have new numbers, new enrollment numbers. The second thing, you'll see a document from PFM. In the November bond, it was based, the assumptions were made back in May when we went for the PQR and the bond application. There was interest rates assumptions, what the market was at that time, etc. The interest rates have changed from when we started this process to where they would be for May, which actually yields for a no increase bond an estimated about $380,000 more in funds than what we were in November. Now, this is assuming that the bond is approved in May and the bills or the bonds are actually sold in probably a July, August time frame. So they're looking at interest rates and so forth. So that's number one change on the financial, because interest rates have dropped. So we are paying less in interest for the bond, which yields us more money to do capital projects. The other piece is looking at again, the finances of where we are in the market, the interest rate. The November bond was set to be sold in 2 series, paid out over 22 years. This is the same dollar value, no increase, but it pays it earlier in 20 years. So when you look at the enrollment charts that are, not the enrollment, the payment charts that are in that, we can actually pay more on the interest and capital and get the bond paid off 2 years sooner, based on the interest at the time when this would sell, which is a different rate than what they would have sold for in the November bond. And then the last item that you'll see in the application, or the backup, is documents from OFF. That $380,000 was put in furnishings at the moment. That would be something that, depending on, there is contingency money built in, so that it addresses potential rising costs or things that are unknown when you start building an addition on. There might be something in the ground that's not marked. So right now it's listed there, but that's money that could be moved within the scope of the bond. The other aspect that we were able to do is move the elementary. When you look at the sheet on the elementary, even on the summary sheet, move Of the $10 million scheduled for the elementary, 6.7 could be done in Series 1. So the kitchen addition and the parking lots over can be moved to be done earlier than what we originally planned in the November bond. Again, it's looking at what our current debt rate is, how we've been paying it down, what the interest rate, again, all of these documents, the pay schedule of what our principal and interest would be, all has to be submitted as part of the application. So I want to just point out basically those, I'm going to call it the four things. The enrollment projection is updated. The finances, in terms of the interest, is we're paying less on interest, which would yield more money. And then the scope of the project, all of it's the exact same. The only difference is there's $360,000 that is in line item right now for furnishings, which we anticipated using a lot of existing furnishings, but would help as we looking 4 years out for that last phase that we might need to replace, and we can shorten or move the elementary additions to be done sooner. So this is what's going to be submitted on Friday to Treasury. We'll have our PQR meeting on Wednesday the 10th. If anybody would like to be part of that, it's 10 o'clock in my office. We do it a Zoom meeting. You're more than welcome to join us. 10 o'clock on December 17th, which is Wednesday. From that meeting, they may or may not, at the last meeting, they asked us to make 2 changes. Put the map of the building before this screen so that when the person's reviewing the application, it made sense. And there's something minor in drawing blank on the fact there was 2 changes. They made them, and then that's the application that will be submitted. So the intent is that we go through the PQR meeting. On the 18th, you have the meeting where you actually approve the application to send to Treasury, which is going to be almost identical to what you approved last May, but it would just be with updated enrollment numbers, updated payments or principal and interest numbers, and then moving some of the stuff from Series 2 to Series 1 in the bond.
So is that would be kind of like a perk then, right? The loan would be paid off 2 years sooner.
It's a selling point because it's not, I mean, it's 2 years less that we're paying on it, the drop. Again, if interest rates continue to drop, when we actually go sell the bond, you might have even a lower rate, and that's what we've done in the past. But this rate is based on current market and where the trend is on interest rates in the financial circuit, if you will. But yes, that's a selling point. And there are some, if you remember when we did this process, we had, here's what we were looking for, and there was oftentimes more expenses than what the bond could yield. We kind of had that, if it's allowable, we could do these, but we didn't change any of the scope of the bond. I just wanted to point out to the board its place in that furnishings. So if you compare the last application to this one, you're going to see a $360,000 line item difference. That's where it's at.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Walensberg. Okay, next item on our agenda is our fiscal year 2026 budget amendment number 1. Tammy, is that you?
That's Tammy, but before Tammy starts, I'm going to get up there, I'll pull up the screen. I want to just point out a couple things more. You have in front of you, and Ray, we did upload it to the website today, so you have at least copies of it electronically to be able to pull up. There should be 2. One is it's a very thick document. It's all the ASN numbers, and then the second is a summary, and that's the screen. That's what I'm going to put up on the screen that Tammy's going to talk to you about. But I think before we go through, what the budget you have in front of you shows that we are using $277,000 of our fund balance to balance the budget, if you will. And there's a reason for that. I put some of the items kind of one time that came up or that we're doing. There's still a lot of unknowns in this budget. And I want to share some things and show you and the listening audience. So I'm going to share the screen, Ray, so it shows up on yours. So just give me a second here.
Okay, because I'm looking at the file and I show that Agenda item 09-E2 FY 2026 budget amendment number 1 was updated 3 hours ago.
That's the one we just uploaded that I printed copies and gave to the board tonight.
Okay.
And then there was a one that had the ASN numbers that, Cindy, did you put that up? Did you put that up today or Friday?
It was up this morning.
It was up there, that was up there this morning, but it wasn't in the original document when we sent it out. When I sent it out on Thursday, and Cindy sent the link on Thursday, it wasn't in that original document.
It's 2 and 3.
That one's hundreds of pages.
It's 122 pages, and it's like,
E3 is the summary, E2 is all the ASN, so if you want to look specifically, I'd recommend looking at the summary. But I wanted to show you first, share screen. This is why there's still a lot of unknowns in this budget. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to show you the current state aid fiscal report. What this is a report that every 25th of the month when we get our state aid payment, the state sends this, or we used to get it a little bit ahead of time, but we know what the deposit's going to be from the state. And in this particular report, they said they're going to deposit into our account $1.6 million, that current, no, the, $1.6 million, the current amount. And it's for these grants. Obligation, the proposal A, Headley obligation, 31A at risk, transportation. And so we use these reports to show, to build the budget. This is kind of the state confirming these are the dollars that we're going to get. As you look at this, this is what we know. I want to show you what the state aid report looked like last August, which is when we got our last state aid payment for last year. You can see on this one, there's many more categoricals that are added. In fact, it actually goes to page 2. And all this is a public document. You can just search 2024-25 state aid fiscal payment. You can see every district's state aid payment. So what we're dealing with here is we're still making assumptions on the budget that we don't know how it's going to shake out in the legislature, or once the legislators have now passed the budget, how it's implemented in the department. One of them that are most recent is going to be 31A. We don't even know what that number is going to be. All right. But what's more disturbing is you may have heard in the budget that we gave schools $10,000, what's our fiscal?
$10,050.
$10,050, great per pupil increase. You need to remember last year, we did not get a per pupil increase, and they gave us some one-time money to help offset our retirement costs. This is what we know in our retirement costs now. Last year, we got $2.6 million in helping the retirement costs. This year, we're anticipating to get $2.1 million. We have lost almost $500,000 in revenue from the state to deal with our retirement costs. So when you put it on the front end of a per pupil, and you didn't give us the per pupil last year increase, and you're throwing it this year, you've taken these one time now away, it's almost a wash in what we got from the state. So this is key just to keep in mind that when people say, yeah, but you got $10,500 per pupil, but you took $500,000 away from us out the back. So when I give you this budget on, and Tammy's going to present you the 270, I am not worried at this point, and nor do I worried for coming forward. We have worked very closely together. We've looked at what actual costs were. We've gone through line items. There's still some assumptions in there, and like I said, I anticipate this to even be lower when all this up. But when I saw this just blows my mind. And we all heard the legislators all promoting, you got $10,050 per pupil. Again, remember, some of these costs Some schools got a per pupil increase last year that don't have these costs. That's the challenge. So with that, I'm going to pull up the summary sheet that you have now in front of you, that Tammy's going to go over. And so this will show you how we actually finished, what the budget was approved last June, that's June 23rd, 25, and the proposed budget amendment for the first amendment for the FY26. So, Tammy, you just tell me when you want me to scroll and keep going.
Okay. Well, we'll start with revenues. They always come first. The columns on there, you have the 24-25 actual. To me, it's helpful to see what we did last year. So then we also have the 25-26 original budget, the proposed amendment to 25-26, and then there's a change column. And that change column compares the first amendment to the original budget. So under general fund, you can see for 24-25 we had 22.8 million. Now we're at, our original budget was 23, just over 23 point, not quite 23.1 million. And our first amendment, we're at just under 23.5 million. So it shows we're getting an increase of 410,000. The biggest chunk of that is in local revenues, and that's because of the formula the state uses with property taxes and what we get in state aid. Because our tax values increased, we're getting more money in tax values. I'm sorry, local tax collections. That's offset. When they do that, then we lose the other part of it from the state, so they don't pay us as much. So our foundation did go up a couple $100,000, but our special ed dollars went down, and as Brian mentioned, all those MIPSTers categories went down. We netted $37,000 decrease in state revenues. Under federal revenues, the biggest change is we had some ESSER funds that we've exhausted. That was about $33,000 that we had in 24-25. We do not have any longer. Those are gone. And then we also had a reduction in our Title I funding. Our interdistrict sources includes both the Macomb ISD enhancement millage and the Macomb ISD special ed millage. So the enhancement millage was approved in 2020. This is our 6th year of 10 years that was approved for. And then in our special ed millage, we get an allocation. They usually team that up with our IDEA allocation, so they kind of go together. So you can see there's a slight increase in our interdistrict sources from Macomb ISD. And we have transfers and modifications. So that includes money that comes from other funds. So from our food service, we charge indirect costs that gets paid from food service, transferred into the general fund. That number has gone up because of the Michigan Free Meals Program. So we get more meals served to all kids. Our costs are higher. We get more indirect costs into the general fund. So that increased to about $70,000. And then a year ago, when we do our transfer and set aside money into the non-bond capital projects fund, we put in money for new curriculum because when we did the electives courses, we ended up with 2 years worth of purchases today. So we made some in 24-25, made some in 25-26. To prepare for 25-26, we set in an additional $92,000 from the general fund into the capital projects fund non-bond. Now we're spending that money this year, so there's a transfer going to happen from the non-bond capital projects fund to the general fund, and that's where you see that $107,000 increase.
I'm going to add 2 things. You need to break these down. Gabby just said it's 6 years to do a 10-year bond. If that, currently we get just under, a little over $900,000 for the MISD enhancement millage. When we started, it was $424, $450, something like that. So as property values have gone up, we've gotten more and more money. In 4 years, less than 4 years, they're going to come back to this community and say, will you renew it? And if it's not renewed, it will be well over $1 million that will be gone in revenue. And that's just Richmond. A Utica, a Chippewa Valley, that is a lot more. That's something to watch. The second thing, please watch Speaker Hall. The next phase of the legislature is focused on property tax reform. Any reform to property tax is going to affect our revenue. And if they aren't backfilling it with some way, that's going to go down. And I don't think anybody in the state, from the average person, doesn't want their property tax to go down. But if they aren't backfilling it, as we thought they were going to do with the whole education fund and with the whole $500,000 in the retirement, it's just 2 things to watch. The second, and it's supposed to come out, that's going to be the focus next term for the
One
legislature.
that you've been talking, I saw someone talking about no property tax.
Just-
And that
just
is
keep
like-
it on your radar as those two items,
Yeah.
because as people get their taxes, particularly their summer tax bills, they're gonna see these costs on there. So just two things that are gonna affect our revenue. Okay, Tammy.
Any questions on the revenues?
Real quick, just the taxes that we receive, do we get them like summer and winter, like how we pay them two times a year?
So
How
how-
frequently do we?
If you look at your tax bill, your summer tax bill is probably a bit larger than your winter tax bill. The school taxes are all on the summer tax bill. And
Okay, so you guys get it, we get it, the school gets it one time a year.
One time. a
And
year.
the reason why we do that is because we don't get a state aid payment in September.
Right.
And the first one's August, so we go almost really 60 days from our August 25th to October 25th with no state aid payments. By getting the revenue now, it helps make payroll and our cash flow.
Yeah.
We used to.
And there are some
Long time
districts that
ago,
opt
we
to
used
split it. We don't because we need that to start up. It's just from cash flow.
It really is a good thing for the district to not have to borrow, because you're paying interest costs, and you have to borrow. So it really ultimately saves us a lot. So looking at, starting out, we'll go through elementary expenditures, and it's kind of going to be the same for middle school and high school. You'll notice the salary changes and benefit changes. Those are all primarily from people shifting, moving. I don't know that we created any new positions. It's
We have
just,
new people in position because we had people leave, rehires, et cetera, but yeah.
but remember when we passed the original bond, we did not incorporate contract increases into that. We just continued last year's. So now we have to make that adjustment. So that's why you'll see all those changes in salaries and benefits throughout the buildings, all three, elementary, middle school, high school. If you look at purchase services, you'll notice a decrease there. Those are those building subs that we're no longer having, reducing that budget because we'll be saving some money on that. You'll see supplies have increased on all three buildings, and that's primarily the textbooks, that year two of those alternate courses or the elective courses. So our elementary went from 2,200,979 to just over, not quite 3.1 million in expenditures. Middle school, very similar story. You had your staffing adjustments. Non-grant, we had some aides, paras that we paid out of grants, and that's a different function code. So when we stop using the grants, when they reduce our Title I, we have to pay those aides now through the general fund. So that shifts them from the Title I area up to the building level, so elementary, middle school especially. And again, sub-teacher change. In this case, we increased it by 20,000. That was mostly because we were a bit under, and we've had some long-term subs that we've needed to fill. Supplies, same thing, textbook replacement. So we go from 3.5 million to 3.8 million in expenditures for the middle school. High school, similar story, sub-teacher change, staffing adjustments, textbook replacement. We go from just under 2.7 million to 2,712,000. Preschool, there's a change there. You'll notice an increase of 38,000 overall. Preschool is primarily the GSRP program. We've increased our enrollment in GSRP by, I think we're up 17 students, but we have slots for 3 more that could be filled. Our budget is based on filling those 3 slots. So we've had staffing changes. We've increased our purchase services. They're going to buy some more Hatch software, so we have that updated software and more stations available for the kids for 11,000 increase. And then, so total preschool expenditures go from 755,000 to 793,000. You'll notice a big change in summer school. Well, summer school's been funded by grants. The 23G grant is expiring, the 35A grant is expiring, the 23B1 and B2 grants have expired. So we really have little left from those grants to fund summer school. Most of that funding is all related to ESSER and the ARP and getting students caught up. So that is now used up. Well, most of those funds. We still have a little, and that leaves us a decrease of about 61,000. So overall, our basic programs go from 10,025,000 to 10,438,000, an increase of 412. Special education, similar staffing adjustments, bringing it up to contract language. You can see, again, there's an increase in purchase services. That's pretty much the subs again for people who are going to be out on long-term leaves.
Just to add that, we had some long-terms, we had special staff resign. We had some long-term subs in those positions. We have some contracted services for speech and language, moving from virtual to a contracted in-person. That's where those dollars are virtual. Well, speech and language will help on, but, okay.
So when you get to Title I at-risk, this is our, what we call Function 125. That is primarily all Title and at-risk funding. So you can see there's a decrease there. Again, that's those Title I dollars decreasing, and those people, the salary costs for maintaining the positions, but shifted them up into the buildings. So we go from Title I, 715,000 to 591,000. Under voc ed, this is an area that we'll need to adjust further. We don't yet have solid numbers on what all of our voc ed funding is going to be and what we have to spend in voc ed. So we've got all the positions filled, but they don't really count that towards improving instruction. That's what we really need to spend the dollars on, and that is purchase services, supplies, and capital outlay. So those items, the staffing is solid, but those items may change as we get that information on the funding, which we don't have just yet.
And literally last week, as Tammy was finalizing this on Friday, we got a notice from the state that, okay, this is your 61A now.
Yes.
So
The waiting
that's
is
going to come
61.
in, that's going to have to come in as we continue getting those numbers.
So you're talking about the CTE programs that we have, the money that comes down to, for those programs, for supplies and stuff for those
Correct.
programs, that didn't come yet at the start of the school year. That's what you're saying?
Correct.
We're running them, but we haven't got what we
The
need.
state has to send us how much we need to spend on the
Got it,
staffing
okay.
improvement costs.
Okay.
And although we've got the staffing budgeted, we don't know if we can purchase less in purchase services, supplies, and capital outlay, or if we need to purchase more.
Okay.
We know that as we get those numbers.
Okay.
Like a good example, the culinary arts program, part of those dollars help offset that program. We're not doing the program, so we're still having expenses.
Right.
We just got it's the backfilling after the fact.
Okay.
Which is why I started off with that August versus now. It's a night and day difference.
Okay.
And it's getting count information sent up to the state, and then once the state gets it, then they have to divvy it up and all. Okay, so we wait, but we'll have it. So basically, under voc ed, we are pretty much personnel changes, savings of about 28,000. Overall, instructional expenditures go from just under 12.7 million to just over 13 million. Supporting services, those are our guidance services. Again, those are the staffing adjustments, costs based on contract language.
And that one just, you have someone who's moved into the position, who have made more than the previous person. That's why the adjustment.
On the next page, you got health services. That reduction is the expired 97J grant. That was for software that we were purchasing for student mental health. Student behavior and interventions. So yes, that was a reduction of grant money that grant also expired. So health services goes from $57,700 to $30,075. Psychological changes, there were no changes there. Speech and audiology services, those are speech teachers. We adjusted for staffing. So at the end of last year, we didn't have 2 full positions. We're back to 2 full positions, plus based on counts, we have to do some outsourcing contracting to help with that, to cover all that. So that was, we have 47,310 for outsourcing if we need all that services for students from the contracted service company that we've been working with. And there's a new one I guess we're talking about. And then the salary changes for going from less than 2 FTEs to 2 full FTEs. Under social work, again, staffing changes to bring us up to contract language. Teacher consultants, staffing adjustments, and we needed additional help to cover all of our TC caseload requirements. So we have one teacher we brought back who had retired and is working part-time, so that's an increase in cost there. No real changes under pupil services, that's mostly our Schedule B stuff, those positions, that's the robotics grant as well, though we don't have a final robotics grant. Again, we have salaries in place, but we don't know how much money we're getting in robotics for 99H. Total pupil support services, we're at $1,292,000 to start the year, and we're now at $1,556,000. Improvement of instruction, those are where we send our teaching staff or bring in people to do professional development. You'll notice a change, a decrease throughout. We had 35J money, which was for literacy, for training. We had ESSER 3 that we used some money for training. Those are both gone. So those are why you see all those cuts in the staffing, change, or improvement of instruction. Library, again, just adjusting for, we still have the 3 people working in the media center, so the only changes are just the contract obligations. Technology, same type of thing, although we did have someone who stopped paying cash in lieu of insurance and taking insurance, so you'll see a big increase of $12,000 in insurance for that department. Under supervision of instruction, here's another piece of the GSRP change. You can see an increase of $93,000, and that is, we have always had the special ed director in there, the curriculum director in that category, that function code. Now we also have the GSRP supervisor. So when the GSRP enrollment goes up and we have more kids, there's more supervision required for GSRP. So that is our dean of students at the elementary school. So we've increased the allocation of the dean of students into the supervision of instructional staff, which is covered by the GSRP. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you'll see a difference when we get down to the office of the principal. Academic assessment, that again is part of the grant change, that decreased to $12,950. Board of Education, the increase from $17,000. There's 3 things. There's a superintendent search added to the budget. There is an increase in our audit cost and a slight increase in marketing, and that's for marketing, for the bond, for whatever else you need. Under executive administration, you can see cost reduction, and this is just reflecting the superintendent retirement at the end of the month. So total general administration goes from $524,000 to $433,000. And here's where you can see a decrease. Although we increased contract obligations for paying benefits, then we shifted some of that dean of student costs over from the elementary dean of students into the GSRP supervisor. And that brings us to a $43,000 increase overall. Business office, also same type of thing, contract obligations shows increases in the salaries and benefits. And when you get down to other business services, there's a line that has a $29,000 increase. That really is an increase for the election cost. We're running a November election and running a spring election. So total business services goes from $656,000 roughly to just over $702,000. Operations and maintenance, that's our building and grounds basically. Again, pay and benefits are adjusted as required by contract. We did reduce building repairs, so when you look under purchase services, you see a $91,000 reduction. That is from last year, we had the middle school gym repair in there. Even though insurance covered all of the deductible, we still had to pay the expense, so it shows up in our budget as an expenditure. So this is where we're taking that out. Hopefully we won't have to fix the gym wall again. And then under supplies, we reduced costs for some miscellaneous supplies and hardware for tools. We just have not spent the whole budget in the last 5 years, so we reduced that to match more of what our actual spending is. So it decreases our operations and maintenance by $87,666. Security services, that's still those bus monitors looking in the buildings. We still plan on using 31AA money, even though we don't know how much we're going to get. So we just incorporated the pay requirements based on the contract language.
So this would be the other thing that I'd want you to put on your radar, that if the legal goes against us, and before one of my last acts would be to opt out of 31A based on the resolution you passed. Keep in mind, basically 4 months, 5 months of cost have already been incurred. And again, assuming as we've talked that we would kind of weather this year and reset going into next year, but this is the other area that you want to just keep your pulse on.
Going on to the next page.
So, real quick, so that covers the security monitors, but not necessarily the SRO?
The SRO is in the purchase service line item.
Okay, okay, so it's
Resource
different.
officer?
Oh, yes.
Yes, it's in the purchase service line.
Okay, thank you.
Pupil transportation is our next area. You will see some decreases there. Again, we adjusted for salary and benefit obligations from the contract, but we also decreased a position. We had a dispatcher, now we do not. So that decreased, there's some decrease reflected there. We decreased supplies. Basically, our fuel cost is one of those areas of the budget that we've, fuel costs have stayed low. We keep expecting them to go up, and they have not. So based on looking at the prior years, we decreased that by $19,800. So it dropped our overall transportation expenditures by $101,000. Under support services communications, that's where our newsletter is. We used to put part of our cost in the newsletter when we had a newspaper. Our newsletter is paid for just by general fund. There's no newspaper. So that increase of $30,200 is reflected there.
Is this also where the bond communications were? So the cost that we had for the last bond, and we also built in a dollar value for the May bond, so that it's budgeted for it.
So we budgeted the newsletter and those costs related to marketing the bond and getting information out from the bond. Under support services, staff personnel, this is our HR office. Our HR had a couple of changes. One was, we have a new HR director who has a different benefit package, so you can see that the health benefits increased, as well as we hired a secretary for the HR department that is billed just to that department. Cost of that just to that department. So that increased to that $42,800 roughly. And then under support services, people accounting, again, there's a personnel change, new person in, different benefit package, so that's why you can see a difference in the $22,199 in the actual costs, which brought us down from $145,791 to $123,719 in the HR department. That includes a lot of professional development. So teachers go under improvement of instruction, which is a 221 function code. When you get to administrators and non-teaching staff, that goes under the HR department. So it isn't just HR department costs. It's also professional development for people outside of the teaching positions. Under athletic activities, you'll notice an increase in capital outlays, the biggest change, and that was pole vault pads that were taken off in the wind and got ruined. So we received money from insurance for everything that are deductible, and this cost that you'll see in there is the cost of replacing those. So that's kind of a one-time thing that will probably change in next year's budget.
And we've been monitoring the officials because their rates have been going up, so we've increased it. You see 1 year from 77, we started this year with 89, and we kind of bumped it up a little because the cost of getting officials keeps going up and up.
Yes,
They're hard to get.
Apparently it's hard to get them, so they.
Who sets their pay? You know? Are they a group?
Yeah, it's MHSA, and we pay it through Arbiter.
We go through Arbiter.
Okay.
So Arbiter is a
Third party.
third party where they sign up with Arbiter, and then we can book them through Arbiter and pay them through Arbiter. And then we have some that are outside that are the local people, especially for track and field events where they're all local people. Some of the volleyball people, when we have a big volleyball tournament here, we pay them directly instead of through Arbiter. So we set that rate, but it's hard to get people, so the cost keeps going up. So total supporting services is on the bottom of that page. We go from $9,873,000 to $9,097,000, increase of just under $100,000. Community education and grants, not a big change there, just buying more supplies, and again, most of this is grant funded, whatever is funded by the grants we get. Custodian and child care, again, staffing cost adjustments. And I think we decreased about $11,000, $12,000 in salary, but that is for, when we do a budget, we do it as we're fully staffed. And so we've had some openings this year, transition, so we had some gaps. So what we expect that cost will be closer to $95,000 than $107,000.
But if we were fully staffed all year, no issues, it's $106,000. That's another thing to keep on here. Getting fully staffed is one challenge.
So our total latchkey, they call it, 175,569 down to 155,987. Welfare activities, that was money for homeless grant, which was the MVARP, another one of those ESSER COVID-related grants that expired. So we reduced that by 240. Non-public school services, these are required services under Title I and IDEA. So we take them out of, whether it's speech or TC or teacher, we take them out of those accounts and we have to account for them as non-public schools because they go to St. Anne's or St. Pete's to provide services. And we're required to do that under IDEA and Title I. So we're going from 49.7 down to 35,017, and that is the Title I grant decrease. So total community services goes from 235,000 to 203,000, a decrease of 32,000. Under facilities acquisition, we're almost there, one more page. Facilities acquisition and construction, GSRP, again, additional students, additional funding, so we have room in the budget for GSRP to replace some equipment that is getting old, to repair some equipment that is old but is still salvageable, and then perhaps add some other equipment. And we will know what we want to do when we know if we get those other three positions filled. Because we get about 10,000 change per student, so we're talking about $30,000 if we don't fill the 3 seats that we have open. So we don't want to spend that money until we know we have those seats. And I know they're working on, I think they had 1 or 2 students that they're just waiting on the parents. We don't know what's going on.
One says twins.
So that increased from 30,000 to 81,000. And then outgoing transfers hasn't changed. We're still budgeting to put in bus replacement of 150, turf replacement of 52,000, laptop replacement of 80,400, computer replacement 40,000, copiers 30,000, file servers 50,000. That was our base, 402,400. Last year, we also transferred that new curriculum piece of 92,440, and we've kept that in the budget, 494,840. We can talk about whether we want to change that down the road, but that's what we have in this budget as an amendment. So on the last page, it shows our general fund expenditures for 24-25 is $22,700,000. Our original budget was $23.3 million. And now we're at $23,769,000, which is an overall increase from the original to the amendment of $453,000. The bottom line, last year we added $43,000 to our fund balance. Our original budget was using $234,000, and now it's increasing it to, as Brian mentioned earlier, $277,000.
And just when we started the 25 budget, FY, we started in June of 24. Saying we're 230, 240, 250. And again, as the evolution comes, I am not panicked by this at all because this is just the normal ebb and flow. And when you look at your fund balance and the rate, we are still very healthy, fiscally responsible district.
We have $3.8 million right now in fund balance, and we're going to take it, if we use all $277,000, we take this down to $3,578,000. Which is still 15.23% of our revenues, fund balance divided by revenues. And if you take out the unrestricted revenues, or take out the restricted revenues and just use restricted, which means take out federal grants, state grants, we're still at 20.72%.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Remember that 500,000 on the retirement? Think of where we were. They didn't.
Yeah.
So, and I use the term wellness. Internally, we know there are budgets that we try to be very conservative so that we don't have, oh, what do we do now, panic. There are some of those that Billy and Tammy and I have talked about as far as future, but we're tighter than we were last year based on what we know today on the revenue side.
And we still don't know bilingual education. We have an estimate based on this is what we got last year and what they projected we would get this year, but we don't have a final number yet. We're still looking at how we're going to spend that, whether we have someone to hire to spend that money or using software, whatever that might be. So that is one area we will look at. FAFSA is the grant to get everybody to fill out FAFSA. Well, we're not real sure, we don't have any money available, but apparently there's some out there, so if we get some of that, we would adjust for that. And then I already know we have workers' comp budgeted at a certain dollar amount, and what we're actually paying for our workers' comp insurance, we're paying more than we budgeted, so we'll have some savings there. So there, as Brian says, moments. We try to get it right, and then, of course, as soon as you look at something else, it's like, it's not in there, but we get it.
And I think that what I feel confident leading the district and the board is the budget, those one time that we talked about, the election costs, are built into this budget. So you don't have to figure out where you're gonna pay for that. The superintendent search, yeah, we put those numbers, they're in this budget. So that was our, so if, I guess, are there any questions that anybody has on it? So I guess my question to you is, do you want me to bring this back for approval at the special meeting on the 18th and be done with it for the holiday?
That's what I would.
All right, then on that meeting, we'll have two items, the bond and the approval of this. So if you have any questions between now and the 18th, give us a call, Tammy, and I will get the answers to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item on our agenda is our Blue Devil Raves. So Margaret, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. I have a couple. First, just to let everyone know, we had our annual Sandy's Kids Ugly Sweater fundraiser Saturday night at the Cook Hotel, and we raised $4,600. It was a big night, most we've raised so far in our 12 years. Just want to thank Dave and Cheryl Goslin, who own the Cook Hotel, who allowed us to come in and host our fundraiser there. All the staff that came out and supported us. We had a really good crowd, lots of new people there Saturday night. We are serving 40 families and about 100 kids, and with the possibility that there are a couple more families in the last week that have come forward that they are looking for help. And I just want to recognize our social workers, Samantha Perry, Araya Spencer, Nicole Kraft, and Darby Smith. They work really hard, not just during this time of year to help our families, but what they do each and every day with our families, our students, and the work that we do. Very, very proud and blessed to be able to have them and what they give to our school district. So a rave to them. We're very lucky to have them on our staff. My other rave, I was at the bank the other day, and I had a parent come up to me that wanted to tell me all about our high school counselor, Christy Crampton. Her son is a senior going into trades, and just all of the things that Mrs. Crampton is doing to help her son get information about what he needs to do with trades, and more information that they ever thought there was possible in that field. And she's just very excited for that help, for her son not being a college-bound kid, but being able to have that support from the counselor. So I thought it was important to share that for someone who has been critical of our high school counseling office for a long time. It's really nice to hear someone singing praises about our counseling office. And the parent also mentioned they were part of our CTE summit that we had as well, and they were part of the culinary area of it, and just complimented Ms. Zabo and being here and watching all of that go on, that was a pretty great event as well. So I just wanted to share that. I think that's it.
Thank you. Danielle?
I'm all set.
Candace?
Yes, I have just a couple. I would like to thank Tammy for her presentation tonight. A lot of time and effort put into that. Thank you. I would also like to
give a shout out to our current superintendent, Brian Walmsley, for all your hard work, and thank you for everything that you've done and getting us prepared for your departure and all the steps that you're taking to make sure that we're okay. And that's not just for me, but for my family. We saw you on 32 Mile and Main this weekend. You're always working. You're like the hardest worker ever. So just want to thank you for all that you've done.
You good?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Raymond?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to all the unsung heroes behind the scenes that are posting all of the wonderful things that the students, teachers, and staff are accomplishing on the Richmond's social media page, Facebook there. It's a pleasure to be able to keep up with some of the stuff that's going on throughout the district because of what's being posted on that page. There's a lot of positive things out there, and I just want to give a shout out to whoever it is that's putting all that information and putting it out there.
Thank you. Sandy?
Just shout out to all of the artists that were selected for the Christmas cards, and especially our own Kelsey, obviously. They all look really great. I think they took them all mostly, but I'm excited to see which one I get.
Sarah?
No.
Okay, and I just want to finish off, the Christmas cards have been mailed, so watch your mail. I want to thank our volunteers who helped get them all out. Pat, and I have no clue, Bartosowitz, okay. Sue Tucker, Terry Spanis, and Karen Johnson, who helped prepare the holiday cards this year. Your time, care, and cheerful spirit made an enormous difference. Because of your hard work, our district is able to share joy, connection, and appreciation with so many people during this special season. We're grateful for your kindness, your teamwork, and the heart you bring to our school community. We couldn't have done it without you, so thank you for spreading Christmas cheer. And that's mine. Okay, next item on our agenda is, we don't have students, so at least superintendent legislative update.
I have no federal updates that affect Richmond, which is, I guess, a good thing. And the legislators have been on vacation, Thanksgiving recess, so I have no state updates for you. So as far as the district, kudos to Mrs. Thornburg, Mrs. Pastushin, Mrs. Barella, Mr. Knight, Sarah, and overseeing it. We had our audit on December 5th, last Friday. Generally, they take 10% of the population, but they liked us and wanted to take 15% of our population at the middle school, and the audit went wonderfully. So, and it was a lot of hard work getting it, and double checking, make sure everything's there, but it was an outstanding preparation for the audit, so thank you to those ladies. You heard last week from our student rep, the preschool concert was last Wednesday, an opportunity to go to it. It was phenomenal. The place was packed. They were lined up on the sides. What I really enjoyed, I want to give out to student Lula and Ella, because they, these are 4-year-olds who were responsible for introducing the songs before the kids sang. So they came up to the podium and did it very confidently. I give them credit. They took a risk and it was paid off. They did start getting a little too comfortable and ad-libbed again and throw out a "I love you, Grandpa" or "Hello, Mom." It was really cute, and the place was packed. It was absolutely packed. Last Thursday we had, you heard our K-3 through 5 music program with Mrs. Smith. Unbelievable. We had 5th graders playing ukuleles, we had 4th graders playing recorders, and 3rd graders dancing and doing all different types of songs and genres. And what I really appreciated most is she touched on a lot of the holidays to help kids understand why people celebrate different holidays, and it was really a great event for that. This coming Friday is our K2 during the school mini session, because they're ending their 8-week mini blocks, so that will be coming this week. The high school holiday band concert is tomorrow. The middle school band concert is next Tuesday, the 16th. Both of them are 7 o'clock in the auditorium. The high school choir concert is this Wednesday, cross our fingers with weather. And our middle school choir concert is next Monday. So if you're looking for some holiday joy and music, the next couple days you have some great music, and I'm really looking forward to it. This Saturday, Richmond is partnering with the Richmond Lions Club, so if you'd like to join us, or if you want to come help volunteer too, Breakfast with Santa is at Lee Elementary School. Previously, it's been held at St. Pete's. We're hosting it this year. Our food service department is preparing the breakfast, scrambled eggs and/or pancakes, turkey sausages, fruit cup, milk juices, and so forth. Looking forward, we're anticipating about 400 people to serve that night. So thanks to everybody who's helping put together. From our custodians, we'll be setting up Friday with me. Billy was part of that conversation. Preston's been part of that. Dara's been part of that. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's a good way of showcasing our school and our students. And I think we're going to have an increase because it's oftentimes seen as a school event, so we may have more of our families joining that. Just to remind our families, you heard it, this coming week, next week, 17th, 18th, 19th, is the end of our first semester. If you recall, our calendar changed. So we're ending semester 1 before the holiday break. So final exams will be, for those that are taking final exams, will be next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So when they come back after the first of the year, we'll start semester 2. I do want to extend a warm welcome and our warm wishes for holidays to our families. I hope the cards you get in the mail put a smile on your face. We should be very proud of the staff and the community that we live in. They're very generous and supportive of each other, especially in times of need. So I wish everybody a safe and joyful holiday. And then I will just leave with this. This is my official last regular board meeting. So I do want to extend a thankful, heartfelt gratitude to this board, the students and community. You've given me an opportunity 12 years ago that I'm very thankful for, and I never looked back at it, and so it's been a privilege serving as the superintendent. So I look forward to being, as you said, Ray, watching the social media, seeing where the district goes, where I'm leaving off, and they can pick up and keep going. So it's exciting. So that's it.
Okay. Can I ask a real quick question?
Yes.
Do you know if it costs anything for the band and the choir concert? I meant to ask the girls, I forgot. Or if they're doing the food drive or anything to get in?
It's $5.
I'm just going to say, it's $5.
But you can get tickets there because they separated them this year. It's not a full house. Well, I shouldn't say that, but it's less.
Yeah, they
likely
separate the
to
middle
be-
school and high school,
Right.
so it's not
the
one band
concerts,
concert, it's
right.
two.
Oh, I see.
Normally you go, it's all in one.
Yes.
It's-
Okay,
They're
gotcha.
standing and.
Yeah, last year it was
Yeah.
packed.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I know the ticket booths themselves are open both nights.
Okay.
So you can actually get tickets.
Thank you.
Good? Good. Okay, items of interest from the board. So I'm going to start tonight. As Mr. Walmsley just said, this is his last official regular board meeting. So I kind of wrote up a little thing here that I would like to share and read. On behalf of the Board of Education, I want to take this moment to recognize and honor our superintendent, Mr. Brian Walmsley, as he is preparing to retire at the end of this month. Mr. Walmsley has led this district with exceptional integrity, vision, and dedication. Over the course of his tenure, he has guided us through challenges such as COVID, celebrated our successes such as our state championship esports team, and consistently kept students at the center of every decision. He has improved our instructional programming. During his time, we've started several new CTE programs, culinary arts, teacher cadet, EMT, radio broadcasting. We went from no laptops to one-on-one for our students. We have new state-of-the-art early childhood program. And these are just a few of the opportunities that will benefit our students for many, many years to come. His leadership has strengthened our schools physically. He has implemented one bond and was instrumental in getting another passed. These bonds updated our facilities, and provided opportunities to expand our current programs, such as our K-12 STEM wing and even the turf on the football field. And here's my funny. Let's talk about the signs. There is no reason you cannot find your way around our property. Our grounds with the trees, the roundabout, the parking lots, the benches are all an envy of many other districts. Communication has been a priority for Mr. Walmsley. He has reinstated the district-wide newsletter, introduced the annual State of the District, developed a modernized and a user-friendly website and social media presence on Facebook. And as a board member, I can assure you we always talk about transparency when communicating with the public. Financially, Richmond Community Schools has consistently earned the highest possible budget rating from independent auditors under Mr. Walmsley's management. He has successfully negotiated multi-year contracts with our bargaining units, and wages have increased, creating a stable workforce. He brought back in-house our food service staff, our custodians, and bus drivers. He's built strong partnerships with families, staff, and our broader community, such as the City of Richmond, our Lennox EMS, our Richmond Rotary, Richmond Lions. These partnerships were rooted in transparency, collaboration, and trust. Perhaps most importantly, Superintendent Walmsley has modeled what it means to lead with heart. He has been a champion for educators and an advocate for equity for all students in our district. His legacy will live on in the programs he initiated, the teams he empowered, and the culture of excellence he helped shape. On behalf of the entire Board of Education, we extend our deepest gratitude for his years of service and the lasting impact he has made in our district. We wish him a retirement filled with health, happiness, and a well-deserved rest. Maybe he'll get some sleep. Please join me in thanking our Superintendent, Brian Walmsley, for his extraordinary leadership and in celebrating his remarkable career. Okay, Sarah. Danielle.
You want me to follow that?
I'm sorry.
I'm good.
No? Okay, Sandy?
I'll follow it. Just real quickly, I want to also send, this is a personal thank you to you, Brian. I know that I've shared this story with you, but, you know, I just knew that you were going to be a great superintendent when you took a meeting with a freshman in the summertime about a theater department. And, you know, I just, and all these kids in your office at that time just, when you probably had so many other way bigger issues that you were dealing with. I appreciate that on a personal level. I know that she does, that's a great memory that she has, and that doesn't happen. And so I do appreciate you. You're at everything all the time. I see you around all the time at all these events, and I think, so thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Candace?
No, I already said what I.
Margaret?
Yeah. Tracy Bartel, Bridget Smith, Dan Hill, Jeff Toit, Andy Oderkirk, Rob Reindell, and myself. 7 very different people who 12 years ago took a chance on Brian Walmsley. Brian came to Richmond with no experience, had never been a superintendent, but we took a chance on him. And when we were looking for a superintendent and what kind of person did we want, and when you survey your employees and community and all that, you wanted somebody with visibility. And our teaching staff wanted a superintendent who knew their name. The previous superintendent walked around and didn't know people, couldn't tell you who you were. And we certainly got that. Brian Walmsley can't walk anywhere in this district that people don't know who he is. You can walk into buildings with Brian Walmsley and students know who he is. You can go to football games, plays, whatever, and kids are talking to Mr. Walmsley. When Brian came here, board members, we were so concerned because we were losing students to Armada. Because our administration at the time thought it was a really good idea Armada had their great math and science academy. And they thought it was a really great idea. Let's let our kids go down the road there and get their math and science because it was just such a great idea. And so there our kids went. And then it was shocking when not only did they go to the Math and Science Academy, but my God, they started going to Armada to school. And as a board, we had board members who lived in subdivision and they were the only people on their block who actually sent their kids to Richmond. And because of Brian Walmsley's leadership and belief that we had really great teachers here that could teach math and science just as good as how they did down the road, that has turned completely around. Kids have come back. Kids are not going down the road anymore, and people are choosing when they come to move in here, they're not choosing to go to Armada. That's because of his leadership and saying to people, this is a great place. Monetarily, money-wise, what he has done and given us the chance to just have great things. Deb mentioned all the programs that we've created. We could sit here as a board every year doing our budget. We know exactly what money is sitting there in front of us, what we can do. Brian's very conservative, but by God, we never in his 12 years here have ever once thought, wow, is he going to be right? Are we going to be $1 million in debt? Hell no, ever. Are we going to be $500,000 in debt? No. He gives us, he educates us. We are better board members because of his leadership. Our district is in great shape because of his leadership. His community involvement, Deb, you are right. What he does with the Rotary, the Lions Club, the Richmond Education Foundation, we have been in existence for 12 years. And our bylaws say that the superintendent has to be part of the group. And the superintendent's part was created as kind of just a figurehead, if you will. Well, when Brian Walmsley's your superintendent, he's not your figurehead in your group. He's jumped right in and he has made us be as successful as we are and given us the ability to do great things for the students here. His professionalism, the integrity that he has, and he has met with awful things in this district. He has been treated horribly as a person. He has been just demeaned so many times in his career here. But every time he bounced back and he stayed with us and he continued to do great work for us because he believed in this district, he believed in our kids, and he knew that everything he was doing was the right thing to do, and he knew that his goal was to make our district better. And some of those people that left us, that caused him the stress and the harm, you know, some of those people left for reasons that were very, very valid on why they had to go. And I am thankful that he stayed here with us and that he overcame a lot of things and still continued to do great work. It has been an honor to sit on this board with you all these 12 years, and we have had our moments, and some have been not pretty, but I knew that every decision you wanted to have happen, even though you always wanted your 7-0 vote, that every decision that was made, you wanted what was best, And I knew that you knew that everything I was trying to do, I wanted what's best for this district too. So thank you. You have left us way better than when you walked through this door 12 years ago. Thank you so much. I wish you and Tanya just so much happiness in your retirement. Just thank you for all you gave to Richmond.
Raymond?
Yeah, so I'd like to address something that took place during our last board meeting on 24 November. During that meeting, the board discussed and talked about whether or not we'd opt into the 31AA, and if so, in what capacity. And when the discussion was nearing the end, it came to almost the end, Vice President Telto then addressed me directly. She regarded an email that I had sent to the board and the superintendent on the topic earlier that day. She went on to falsely claim that in my email I had told board members that I did not want them to waste money on safety and mental health stuff. After I denied that allegation, Vice President Toto then went on to ask me if I wanted her to read my email, which I responded by, telling her that that's what she felt she needed to do. Didn't ask her to read it, but she felt it necessary to do so. Then she took out her phone and read it aloud to the public, the email that I had sent to the superintendent and to the fellow board members there. And even after reading my email, which clearly stated nothing remotely close to what she had claimed it contained, she continued to badger me, asking me multiple times to clarify my words when they were right in front of her in black and white. Her questions were asked and then answered. And I felt there was no need for her to continue with that same line of question. I feel that Vice President Telto purposely badgered me and attempted to discredit me to the public. She misrepresented me openly to this board, the public, and the district stakeholders. She falsely claimed that I didn't want us, the board, to waste money on safety and mental health stuff. I believe that her actions were inconsistent with how a board member should act, and I asked that Vice President Toto provide a public apology not only to myself, but to the board, and more importantly, to the district stakeholders.
Thank you. Well, Mrs. Michon, I wasn't fit, I had my thing with Mr. Walmsley, but I was going to address what happened at the last meeting as well as part of my items of interest.
You had an opportunity to read. I give it?
Yes, but you should.
Yeah, I saw her say, I've got one more.
Oh,
Thanks.
I'm sorry.
I did. Yeah.
Okay, then I apologize.
Thanks.
I missed it. Please
Nope.
go ahead.
Nope, that's all right. What I'll say, Ray, is that my word of saying that you wasting money, that might have been something I shouldn't have said in the fact that that was my interpretation of what you said. But what I want to clarify for the administrators of the Truth and Transparency page, that to the public, that it was a personal email. It was not a personal email, Ray. It was an email directed to the board about business that was going to be conducted that night at the board table, about a vote we were having. And Mr. Walmsley answered, Mrs. Michon got in and answered, and I am a believer that we should not engage in any kind of conversation about business that's happening at the board table. That to be transparent, we should be discussing it at the table. And the reason that I asked about your email was because we had been talking for the last couple months about the constitutionality of the 31AA stuff. And in your email, when you started with, you didn't want to support if there's the constitutionality, and yep, we're all in agreement. And then you brought in about the mental health part of it. And you said, if we're spending money on buying shelves and all of that. I was trying to bring that into the conversation because we hadn't even been talking about that. And we were going to vote on it. That's what I was trying to do. And contrary to what the Truth and Transparency page It had nothing to do, gotcha, I'm not gotcha anything. I asked you about your email, and your response was almost like you didn't, like my email, like you were questioning, not understanding what I meant. And that's when I said, would you like me to read it to you? You're right, you never said in there that it was a waste of money. That was my interpretation of what you said. So, yes, you did not say it was a waste of money. My interpretation, but I had every right to ask you about that. You were talking word business in an email.
So I'm simply asking for an apology for misrepresenting me.
I didn't misrepresent you. I just said, I used the word waste money. That was my interpretation of what you said. I didn't misrepresent you. I read your email. The email was your words. I didn't misrepresent you. Were those your words?
So during that meeting.
Were those words your words that I read from the
You
email?
referenced the email, and you said in that email that you had sent us, you told us that you did not want us to waste money on safety and the mental health. Pause. Is that correct? I
Yes,
said, no, it wasn't correct.
yes.
So had you not read my email to validate that it was not correct, then it would be open for the public to believe that what you're saying, I said, that would be true, and that was not the case. So you misrepresented what I had said.
No, I didn't misrepresent what you said. I interpreted what you said. You didn't like the word waste that I said. You didn't like the fact that I used the word waste. You asked, I didn't,
that that's what I had said.
I didn't misrepresent you, Ray. I didn't. You
Absolutely.
didn't want to vote. You didn't want to vote for, you didn't want to spend the money. You made the reference, if we can spend money on shelving, we can at least spend the $20,000 for the school resource officer. So when in fact your vote that you voted that night, when you voted no, Ray, in essence, you were voting against the money for the school resource officer and the mental health stuff. It's exactly what your no vote was.
Okay, it's clear that you're not finding any fault in what you said, and that there's no apology to be had here.
Well, yeah, I'm not apologizing. I said to you, I interpreted that you said was wasting money. I read your words.
Did you interpret that incorrectly from what I actually said in the email?
No, it's my interpretation of what you said. How is that incorrect? It's my interpretation.
Because you addressed me directly saying, isn't that what you said?
It's my interpretation of what you said.
Okay, I mean, we can go back, listen guys, I'm sorry Deb, but we can go back and forth all night. It's almost midnight.
Yep.
And let's move on.
Okay, next item on our agenda is public comments. Since the last board meeting, the board received an email from a high school parent concerned with the treatment her daughter was receiving in the building. This email was forwarded on to Mr. Walmsley. A meeting was scheduled for today. There were no public comments that needed addressing from the last board meeting. At this time, any member of the public will have 3 minutes to address the board. Please sign in and state your name. If you wish a follow-up, please provide contact information on the public comment sheet. Are there any public comments? Okay, being no public comments, we will proceed to our action item. Looking for a motion for the approval of an overnight extended student trip to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the overnight extended trip to Grand Rapids, Michigan on January 21st through the 24th of 2026, as presented at the December 8, 2026 Board of Education meeting and outlined in the attached documentation.
Support. Thank you. Any discussion?
It's the 21st.
I said the 21st through the 24th.
Oh, I thought I heard 23rd.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Sandy?
Aye.
Sarah? Danielle? Raymond.
Aye.
Candace.
Aye.
Margaret.
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion for the approval of an overnight extended student trip to New York City, New
Motion
York.
to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight extended trip to New York City, New York on November 18th to 22nd, 2026, as presented at the December 8th, 2026 Board of Education meeting and outlined in the attached documentation.
December 8th, 2025 Board of Education meeting.
I'm correct all this.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I just read it as written,
You're-
sorry.
you're right.
Okay.
I supported it then.
I'm
You
familiar.
supported it, Margaret? Okay, any discussion? So roll call vote. Sarah.
Aye.
Margaret.
Aye.
Candace.
Aye.
Sandy.
Aye.
Raymond.
Aye.
Danielle.
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion for an overnight extended trip to Gaylord, Michigan.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight extended trip to Gaylord, Michigan on May 9th through 10th, 2026, as presented at the December 8th, 2025 Board of Education meeting and outlined in the attached documentation.
Support.
I got Sarah on it. Any discussion? So roll call vote. Sandy.
Aye.
Sarah. Danielle. Raymond.
Aye.
Margaret.
Aye.
Candace.
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion for the approval of a 3-year contract for the non-union and exempt employees.
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve 3-year contract extensions for non-union and exempt employees as outlined in the attached documentation.
Support.
Do we have any discussion? So roll call vote. Margaret.
Aye.
Sandy.
Aye.
Candace.
Aye.
Raymond.
Aye.
Sarah. Danielle.
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion for the approval of a resolution authorizing litigation against the social media companies.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the resolution authorizing litigation against social media companies as outlined in the attached documentation.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? So roll call vote. Candace.
Aye.
Sandy.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Raymond.
Aye.
Danielle.
Aye.
Margaret.
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion for the approval of the interim superintendent appointment.
I move to appoint Billy Suspaniak as the interim superintendent beginning January 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2026 as outlined in the attached documentation.
Support.
Any discussion?
A couple of things real quick. One, I just want to express my disagreement with the fact that this position, the interim position, wasn't openly publicized for anything or for anyone at any time. And though I have no doubt that she's a great candidate, at this point, and I'll ask by a show of hands if anybody else on the board, if they've actually seen her resume, qualifications, and certifications. I've seen a lot of emails recently that there's a lot of district employees providing support, and that's great, and I think Billy's great also. But I feel that this process wasn't handled correctly and that it wasn't openly published, and nobody else had an opportunity to apply for it, and that the public didn't have a hand in providing any questions either. And so that's where I'm at, because I haven't seen a resume or any qualifications or certifications, but yet we're going to vote her in. And so I would ask.
You have a vote, you have a
vote.
You can vote however you want to
I'm
vote.
just going to say, you'll have your vote.
Well, I would just like to say, even though I do feel like, I agree, maybe the process about going about it wasn't done maybe the way I would have liked. Deb and I have talked privately about that. I do think at the end we got the right person, and seeing the recommendations by 3 different unions, just their support 100%, even though I think the process could have been improved, at the end, I think we got the right person, so I'm good with that.
Okay, any other discussion?
I would just like to very much thank Billy for wanting to step in and lead us through this little short period of time to keep us afloat and keep the the great things going, so appreciate it very, very much.
And good luck dealing with all of us. Any other discussion?
You know it's true.
This is a roll call vote. Okay, shh. Margaret.
Aye.
Candace.
Aye.
Sandy. Aye. Raymond.
Nay.
Sarah.
Aye.
Danielle.
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. Okay, I'm looking for a motion for the approval of a contract for interim curriculum assistant.
I move to approve the contract for Jessica Schlegelberg as the interim curriculum assistant beginning January 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2026, as outlined in the attached documentation.
Do I have support? Support. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Margaret.
Aye.
Sandy. Aye. Candace.
Aye.
Raymond.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Danielle.
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. Looking for the approval of a mediation settlement agreement. Anyone?
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the mediation settlement agreement as outlined in the attached documentation.
Do I have support?
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I think they are.
Do I have support? Okay, being no support.
I'll support.
Okay, Sarah just said she will support it. Okay, any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Margaret.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Candace.
Aye.
Sandy.
Nay.
Raymond.
Nay.
Danielle.
Aye.
I vote nay. Motion carries. Being no further business, the board will adjourn at 11:53. Thank you, guys. I know this was a long one.